I was dropped by major labels, record labels that is, back in 1991. It's a bit like being dropped by a girlfriend, except that she has more integrity, because at least she tells you. When you get dropped by a record label, you usually find out from your hairdresser, because they don't have the balls to tell you themselves. So I started doing this back then in 1991, playing guitar and singing to crowds, not so many as this. 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, and then maybe 20 people. Oh, that was a good night. But you have to ask yourself, I'd always planned to get back to the lofty peaks of superstardom, where I belong. But you have to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, if I never make it back to the lofty peaks of superstardom, is playing for crowds the likes of yourselves, is that good enough? And you realize in the end, when you ask yourself that question, that's not. Any minute now, a ship is coming in. I'll keep checking the horizon, and I'll stand on the bow and feel the waves come crashing down, down, down on me. And you say, be still, my love, open up your heart, let the light shine in. Don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. Hey, mama, mama, mama. When I woke today, suddenly nothing happened. But in my dreams, I slew the dragon and down this beaten path, up this cobbled lane, I'm walking in my own footsteps once again. And you say, just be here now, forget about the past, your mask is wearing thin. Just let me throw one more dice, I know that I can win. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. checking the horizon. I'll check my machine. It's sure to be that cold. It's gonna happen soon, soon, oh so very soon. It's just that time's a lead, and you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart, let the light shine in. Don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. On a clear day, I can see for a long way. On a clear day, I can see. See for a long way.
Woo! Good morning, my friends. It's good to see you guys. Glad you guys could be here. Thanks for being here. Means the world to me. So we are in day 3 of deliberations in the second Karen Reed trial, and I'm a nervous wreck. Even though I'm fully confident that the evidence dictates that Karen Reed is innocent. Not just not guilty, but innocent. And oh, thank you, Liz88, for the daily gift. Appreciate it. But seeing as the Commonwealth has done what they've done so far, the fact that I know what they're capable of and the lengths that they'll go to railroad this innocent woman makes me nervous. So, Judge Beverly Cannoni conducting herself the way that she has makes me nervous. So, yeah, I saw people commenting about the song. I don't know if it's people who are behind or what. That opening song was I felt it was appropriate. It is by the great Colin Hay. He's one of my favorite songwriters. You might remember him from the legendary 80s group Men at Work. And yeah, they were great. I started listening to Colin Hay again because he has man, it's a Men at Work song actually. And it's called Overkill, but no song has ever explained the feeling of anxiety and what it's like to deal with it better. I've never heard a song or I've never heard anxiety explained better than in the song Overkill. And but that song was it's Waiting for My Real Life to Begin, I think that's the title of it. I know that's like what he says in the chorus, but it's a good song. And I really love it. And I thought it was appropriate. But if you were talking about the Free Karen Reed song, It Lives to Fight Another Day on the Glare channel. I have not retired it yet. It is a song by someone named Chris Loring, who recorded it, made a video, put it out. The link to his YouTube is in the description. It's always in the description. So make sure to subscribe to him. And yeah. And once Karen Reed is acquitted, there'll be no need for me to play the song here anymore, which will be bittersweet. But as long as Karen Reed as long as this doom is looming over her, that song will play on this channel. And so I don't even know what we're gonna do. Like I'm really not in a fun mood. I wish I was. But I can't fake it, you know. And yeah, I'm just not in the best mood. And I want to go over to the Trooper Paul stuff, but the Trooper Paul stuff is just funny. So maybe we'll let's go over some stuff that I kind of realized and discovered on X. Is something, I mean, I'm just not gonna fucking pretend like there's something like there isn't something absolutely shady as fuck going on with court TV. Um, I do love that everyone is talking about the Dipinga and Turtle Boy confrontation yesterday, which wasn't even really a confrontation. It was just Turtle Boy trolling successfully and Depipi getting butthurt over it. It was just really funny. Um, so yeah, and I can't stress this enough, honestly. The you know, we're getting impatient. We want the verdict now. But you know, you got to understand. I'm of the opinion that the longer that this takes, the better for Karen. The longer that the jury takes to deliberate, the better for Karen. Um, I think it's interesting. So far, there's no questions to the court from them. Um, and it's it's a good thing for Karen in the sense that uh there's so much information to review. Karen reads exculpatory evidence. There is tons of it. Uh and a lot of it was presented. And if they're taking the time to really break down why, because I love that this jury is made up of more or less young people, and I feel like they're more likely to be tech savvy, and I think that they're going to see through the Commonwealth's bullshit of the 2:27 a.m. search. I really hope that they focus on these things and Jen McCabe's testimony and how shady it was. And if they go over all of Karen Reed's exculpatory evidence, I feel like that is the surefire way to ensure a not guilty verdict all the way down the line. This verdict form, if they haven't asked any questions, I'd say they're not even close to filling out the verdict form yet, because the verdict form is confusing as fuck. So I guarantee you that they're going to come out with questions wondering what's going on with this verdict form. We don't understand. So the fact that they haven't asked any questions about the verdict form yet tells me they're still deliberating and thinking and talking, and I think it's a good thing. So now I thought it was absolutely lovely. I thought it was absolutely lovely that uh that this happened. So Kate Peter, aka Crusty Panties, posted on X this post. And it says, I yelled at the producer from Court TV last night while Vinnie Politan hid at the top of the stairs. It was interesting how the producer insisted that she did not believe in the conspiracy, felt bad for the family, felt bad for the witnesses, LOL, while Vinny droned on about the debunked 2:27 a.m. search that even the defense gave up on, which is not true. She then, unprompted, went on a tirade. She's talking about the producer, the producer of Court TV here. She then, unprompted, went on a tirade about how Turtle Boy is not a real journalist. He's vile. Nobody at Court TV supports him. He's not allowed on. He called Julie Grant a cunt, etc., etc. All lies. Vinnie Politan loves the torment of murder victims, family, and friends. The media is the enemy of the people. And this is all because Turtle Boy posted a selfie with Vinnie Politan. Okay. I just didn't have enough room to take the screenshot of the selfie too. So she posts this picture, this selfie that Turtle Boy posted of him and Vinnie Politan. Okay, now I'm getting in a silly mood. Because that shit is just funny. Listen to me, dude. This shit is very funny to me that this butt hurts Kate Peter that bad. Now, do I take I realize what I posted on X, but the truth is I take this post with a grain of salt. But I also kind of believe it. You know why I believe it? You know why I believe that the producer of Court TV said these things? Do you have any idea? I'll give you one guess why I believe that the producer of Court TV said these things about Turtle Boy and said these things about the Commonwealth and the conspiracy. Does anybody know? Anybody? Anyone? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's a name, and it starts with Julie Grant. That's the reason why I think that the producer from Court TV actually feels this way. Because Court TV gives Julie Grant a platform to spread Commonwealth bullshit propaganda. This is a fact. This isn't up for debate. It just is. We've seen it 100 times. We've reviewed it on this channel 100 fucking times. How many times have we gone over Julie Grant? You guys get mad at me when I do it. You guys are like, oh no, not her. I love to see that shit. I love to memorialize that shit. Make no mistake about it. I love to have that shit out there so that people in the future never forget the fact that Court TV supported the framing of an innocent woman. To some degree, they absolutely did. Like, tell me I'm fucking lying. Tell me Court TV, by giving Julie Grant a platform to spread her lies, tell me Court TV, by giving John DePinga a platform to spread lies. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me Crusty Panties is wrong about Court TV. This is one thing me and that greasy-headed sack of monkey shit agree on. This is one thing we agree on. Is Court TV is full of shit. So, I mean, it's one thing to be entertaining, people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing, I understand, kind of going the opposition to be entertaining, playing both sides to kind of, create some sort of entertaining drama to snag viewers. That's the name of the game. I get it. I'm not denying that this is, but the bottom line here is that in doing this, they helped facilitate the lack of peace of a family of an innocent woman. I mean, this is undeniable. Court TV used Julie Grant to peddle lies about Karen Reed and influenced who knows how much harassment towards the Reed family. This isn't up for debate. This absolutely happened. And it's weird because I like Vinnie Politan. I do. I think Vinnie Politan is playing just within the boundaries that Court TV puts up for him. And he's just within those boundaries, but he believes Karen Reed is innocent. You can tell. You can tell. So, let's actually drop in on Vinny and see what he's saying.
Enrique Delgado Garcia. That's all, shouldn't have happened. They got away with it.
Okay.
And that's just right here in Norfolk County.
Right.
So
That's one county in one state.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
That we know about.
That you know about, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes it's tough to uncover when things go terribly wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
let
me
me-
bring this up.
The Innocence Project years.
Let me address this real quick. This comment. Some idiot on Vinny's stream just misquoted Turtle Boy and said sources say the magic hour is 11 a.m. and that Turtle Boy said this, making it sound like Turtle Boy has an inside scoop of the jury. Nobody has an inside scoop on the jury. Nobody does. Any rumors that you hear, oh, there should be a decision by this time or that time, it's rumor and it's bullshit. It's a lie because there's no way that anyone would know it. So we have no idea when this jury is going to come to a decision. And they're definitely not giving anyone a heads up. If they're giving someone a heads up, then there's something wrong with this jury and there should be a mistrial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say maybe the past 5 years or so.
Okay.
As you a bit. I mean,
You know, it's interesting when you say that. I've noticed a pattern at Core TV since COVID. Right. I'm using COVID as since COVID. We've got
Yeah, there's no discussion here that Turtle Boy would not do that. Like we know he wouldn't do something that irresponsible. We know this. So it's not even up for discussion. Not even a question.
we've gotten way more not guilty verdicts at Core TV, which is I worked at Core TV since 2001, and it's it's going to be guilty. Everyone, almost everybody, it would be completely like, oh my goodness, someone was found not guilty.
Yeah.
Since 2020, it's like on these high-profile cases, you don't know. Kyle Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Right.
We've had just a series of them. I think in 1 year,
Okay.
we had like 7.
Politics aside, let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse for a second. Politics aside, looking at it straight forward as a crime case, nothing else. No, I don't want to hear any bullshit. I don't want to hear any pro or anti-Trump shit in the chat about it because it's not the subject. Kyle Rittenhouse 100% acted in self-defense. And as a matter of fact, I went over it when it happened. There was video footage taken from so many different perspectives that prove Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. I don't care what your fucking opinions are about the kid. I don't give a fuck if you think I shouldn't have. What was he doing with a rifle? Blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck about any of that. All I know is dude had a gun. People were attacking him. He shot him. Period. That's what happened. And in my opinion, that merits. Like, I'm not going and attacking somebody with a fucking gun and not expecting to get shot. So Vinny talking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, there was a not guilty verdict. We didn't expect it. No, I totally expected a not guilty verdict. I 100% expected a not guilty verdict because the evidence simply dictated that Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, period.
7 in a row.
Holy cow.
Never before had that happened. Never before had that happened. Which, well, it's good as long as that's the truth. Or people are
100%.
right.
Yes. Yes.
We don't want guilty killers running free, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. But we don't want innocent people locked up. And it's
Right.
more important to not lock up innocent people than to let it. That's the way it was set up by our framers, right?
It is.
Once in
Yeah.
a while, a guilty person will be set free in order to protect the innocent from being wrongfully convicted.
And sometimes it's very difficult to tell,
Right.
you know, what kind of,
I talked to her this morning.
Every case is different.
yes.
Every case is different. The nature of like this case is unlike any I've ever seen. And every case you have to take it on the facts of that particular case. But
Yes.
great speaking with you, sir. Have a great day. God bless America.
Yes. So I
We love the United States.
already got, you know, some more standouts ready to go.
There we
We're
go.
not putting with just Karen.
Okay.
So
Carry on.
thank you.
Thank you.
Please don't get here. Now I can say hi to Vinnie.
Hey.
We've got Melanie Little. I have my earbuds in.
Okay.
You know?
So she has
She
a
said you're
question.
doing a great job.
Oh, thank you, Melanie.
She said, can you have security for Karen walking out of the courthouse? I think she's okay now because the SUVs pop up. So
we're
Yeah.
good. Tell her though, thinner crowd today.
thinner crowd today, he
Much
says.
Thinner crowd today. And I'm trying to understand. I'm speaking with people. I think some people are looking at the weather app and believing the weather app, which is actually fake news at this point because there is no rain. I think the other thing is school is now. Can't hear
Hold
me?
on. Hold on. Maybe if I hold on. Let's try to do this. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
How about now? No,
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
What's going on?
I don't know why we can't hear him. How about if we
It's
hold on?
I have to point out, I have to make an observation off the subject here, how Crusty Panties being butthurt about Turtle Boy getting a selfie with Vinnie Politan made me in a good mood. It completely shifted my mood. It made me happy. It fucking made me happy, dude. Like her getting so upset over that made me happy. That's very funny to me, dude. That's such a miserable motherfucker being more miserable about good things happening. Good things happening, making a miserable motherfucker miserable makes me happy, bro. It does. It just does.
Do you think today's going to be the verdict day? She wants to know.
Today,
Do we think it's going to be today? Can you hear me now? Just making sure you can hear us. Okay.
okay, they can hear.
Melanie, because I'm hearing it too. Do we think today is verdict day?
I believe the most likely day is Wednesday, just by my own theorem that I've developed through the years. I plugged in the numbers. Wednesday afternoon, I believe, is most likely in a normal verdict. But as we know, we never know what a jury's going to do.
And
So,
the best
if it comes
part,
in-
the best part about Krusty making that post, Court TV is now full on free Karen Reed. Think about that. So Krusty controls all of the fucking idiots. Okay. Every idiot, and I mean idiot, anybody who says that Karen Reed is guilty at this point is a fucking retard or just a complete and utter shitbag. And honestly, I think it's beyond stupidity now. Honestly, I think it's just beyond stupidity now. I think it just makes you a shitbag. You're a bad person. Like there's nobody on the planet stupid enough to believe that Karen Reed is innocent or is guilty of this crime. There's nobody on the planet that's dumb enough to think that Karen Reed did this. Like the evidence is too overwhelming. Like it's spelled out. It's spelled out, dude. Like, so at this point, anybody who thinks that Karen Reed is guilty or says that Karen Reed is guilty is just a shitbag spreading bullshit propaganda. Now, the fun shit about it is Court TV was one of these people. And all it took for Court TV to go full free Karen Reed was Turtle Boy taking a selfie with Vinnie Politan. That is beautiful. Dude, if I'm Turtle Boy, dude, I'm like think about it. If I'm Aiden Carney, dude, I'm like just yeah. That easy. It's that easy. I just shifted Court TV. Court TV won't even have me on. And I just fucking shifted. I just turned every fucking person that goes to Court TV and listens to Julie Grant on Court TV. I turned them on them. That's it. Now they all hate Court TV. Now the only people watching Court TV are Free Karen Reed supporters. Now Court TV is going to have to cater to their demographic. If I'm Turtle Boy, I'm like, that's all I had to do. That's all I had to do. I had to take a selfie with this guy right here. It's brilliant, dude. Turtle Boy doesn't even have to try. That's what makes it so fucking funny. Aiden doesn't even have to try. These people constantly just shoot themselves in the foot trying to run after and attack Turtle Boy. It's always like Turtle Boy is like the road runner, and then there's all these wily coyotes that are just fucking smacking into rocks. Like one after the other. When he's just going, meet. So funny. It's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. I've never seen any shit like this in my life. Like, I cannot stress this point enough. Through that tweet, okay? Let's read it one more time. Let's read it one more time. Through this tweet, bro. I'm going to show the whole tweet. I'm just going to go right to her page. That is so funny. Look, I'm going to read it one more time. I yelled at the producer from Court TV last night while Vinnie Politan hid at the top of the stairs. It was interesting how the producer insisted that she did not believe in the conspiracy, felt bad for the family, felt bad for the witnesses, LOL. While Vinnie droned on about the debunked 2:27 a.m. search that even the defense gave up on, which is just not true. She then, unprompted, went on a tirade about how Turtle Boy is not a real journalist. He's vile. Nobody at Court TV supports him. He's not allowed on. He called Julie Grant a cunt, etc., etc. Oh, for the record, Julie Grant's totally a cunt. So, Turtle Boy is not a real journalist, she says. He's vile. Nobody at Court TV supports him, and he's not allowed on. He called Julie Grant a cunt, etc., etc. All lies. Vinnie Politan loves the torment of murder victims, family, and friends. The media is the enemy of the people. And so this right here, this is all it took to get John DePepe completely and totally worthless to Court TV. Because nobody gives a fuck at this point what John DePepe says on Court TV. Because nobody who's going around saying that Karen Reed is guilty is watching Court TV anymore, because they all listen to Crusty Panties because she is their queen moron. So Turtle Boy just basically shifted the viewership of Court TV by just taking this one simple selfie. You gotta love it, dude. You've gotta love it. And I guarantee you that wasn't even on his mind. I guarantee you he took that selfie simply just because he likes Vinnie and he wanted to take a selfie with Vinnie, dude. That's it. That's it. Wasn't even trying. He wasn't even trying. It's amazing. Let's see what Vinny's saying now.
Here's a comment that would drive Al crazy. Looking sharp, Vinny. Thank you, summertime. That's for Al. I'm driving crazy. All right. Gen X. Thank you, Gen X. Did I put that up there? I don't even know if I put that up there. Let me see. Ron Stage. There we go. Gen X, Frank the Figs, Jennifer Sube, the mods. Thank you. Ashley Bouchard, who's also helping out on the when she can on Facebook. I don't even know if she's on the Facebook today or not.
I don't want to see this. I want to see him talk to the people. Let's just go back
Is that
to the
Butterfly?
beginning.
That's
Butterfly.
Let's fly.
Some more folks over here. Quick question.
Yeah.
You want to say hi? Less people here today. Why is that?
Yeah, it did seem like it was going to be raining, but I think that's why. I thought it was going to rain too.
Do they have umbrellas in Dedham?
I don't. That's a good question.
Do they have? Yeah, interesting though. Interesting. Could be weather related. Could be weather related. A much thinner crowd. Take a look. I mean,
Are
a thinner
there-
crowd than yesterday?
Are there literally fair weather Karen Reed supporters? Literally?
Quick question.
Yes,
Why the thinner crowd today, do you think?
I think the weather.
The weather.
I believe. I believe the longer it goes, closer to verdict time, maybe.
So you think during the day, you think it'll
People are
fill in?
going to come.
Like after lunch, we'll be filling up. But it's interesting because yesterday morning, jam-packed here. And what's interesting is, like, I've been in court TV for a long time, and quick verdicts are rare, especially in a case like this. But I feel like everyone expected a quick verdict yesterday.
I said,
You too, right?
I said slam dunk.
I said by noon.
Slam dunk.
Can I tell you about slam dunk?
Will you guys calm down? I'm just fucking with you, man. Like, I'm not shitting on nobody for not being out there, man. I think it's awesome that there are people out there. That's all.
I think it was an overwhelming
But-
thought
but-
and feeling that yesterday was the day.
But Akibat told the jury.
Y'all are
the
like-
last jury,
I got work.
no straw votes, and you have to go over every single piece of evidence. So that's obviously what.
That's going to take time.
That's what I think they did
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Because the first day.
Well, it could take longer. So I covered a trial here in a long time ago. It's right around the turn
I'm
of the
checking,
century,
I'm
like
checking.
2001. And all these people weren't here, obviously, but it was a case, and the evidence against Dr. Dirk Reiner was overwhelming. Like his DNA was on the glove of the murder victim, all of that, right? So it was devastating evidence. The jury got the case in the beginning of the week and deliberated all week. They didn't take a vote. They just went through every piece of evidence. That trial was about 2 months.
Yeah.
So it took them like 4 days to go through the evidence. And then Friday morning, they showed up. They were all dressed up. They took a picture on the back steps, and then they had the verdict. So you may be right. I think you're right that they're going through the evidence.
But let's say
What's up,
they
Connor?
all think there's so much reasoning don't. So I can't wrap my head around why they would find her guilty on anything.
Right.
So let's say they all think she's innocent. Can they just vote?
I think a jury can do whatever they want once they get behind them because no
Listen, don't spam my chat, bro. I've got the shit pulled up in the background. If something happens, I'll hear it.
to the judge for guidance. Right? How do we do this? What are we supposed to do?
That's a sad thing for this jury.
Well, that's the way it works in our system.
Yeah.
My father was a judge, and the relationship between the judge and the jury is really important because these are 12 people who may have never seen a trial before. Obviously, most of them, last time we did have one lawyer that was an alternate, but most of them haven't studied law.
Right.
So they really look and lean to the judge. I was on a jury last year. It was a civil case, and we were all leaning into the judge. What do we do? My
Even
case,
you?
yeah, it was a medical malpractice case.
Oh.
I never did medical malpractice. And I didn't realize that it's like a criminal case almost. The doctors are presumed not liable. You got to bring in an expert to prove that. So it's almost like a presumption of innocence for doctors in medical malpractice, at least where I am in Georgia. And even I was being, I didn't deliberate. I ended up being an alternate. Okay. Which was. There was a slight sense of relief because it was a tough case. Because the man, I felt so bad for the plaintiff, but he really didn't.
Now, all right. Okay, I have the jury question here. Jury asks, why the fuck was there a different shoe? Okay, that's what the jury's asking. And we're not going to know what the fucking jury's asking, people. You just got to wait. Hold on. Chill the fuck out. Jury has a question. So what? When we get the jury question and the jury answer, I'll go over it.
It's back on, but the doctor was an amazing man. I mean, what a surgeon. Like the type of work that he was doing. And he's just in his office, his pager or whatever goes off. He runs to the emergency room and tries to save the man's hand. So and he was a nice man. So you felt bad for him, but I really felt like the man's life.
Oh, here we go.
I was like,
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
Alyssa Jet, thank you. Been watching you forever. Way before Karen Reed. Hopeful about today. Right on. Thanks, Alyssa Jet. That's awesome. And yeah, Microdots is saying remain calm. That's a nicer way. That's a Richie way of saying calm the fuck down. Relax. Chill the fuck out. We're not gonna know nothing until we fucking know it, bro.
can we give him a little bit of money? I know an insurance company is paying for this, but I didn't deliberate. And my fellow jurors, no liability. He walked out of there with nothing. Zero. So it was much more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Trials forever.
Right.
I'm like,
When
come
you're
on.
invested in
But when you, and you're
I got in my car yesterday and cried.
I cried.
Yeah.
yeah.
Listen, Turtle. Listen, Turtle.
Your background that like just died.
Listen, Turtle.
Everything
Into the case. Everything was riding on it for him. And then, so you put it in a criminal sense. You still have two sides here, right? You've got the O'Keefe family. You've got Peggy, plus two children. Oh my God, right? And then you've got Karen Reed and her family and her father and mother, and her life is at stake as well. I think I'd rather be an alternate than make that decision. That's not an easy decision. Regardless of what you think,
Someone's life is going to
to me,
change.
there's an emotional aspect to it. It doesn't guide your decision necessarily, but you're a human.
Easy, Tinkerbell.
Like, okay, it said it's about the facts, it's about the facts. And then presented the case, and then at the end,
Right. That was interesting, right? You picked up on that. I picked up on that as well. That he began his closing argument with an emotional plea, which you're allowed to do, but you can't make your decision based upon emotion. But you want to make it real for the jury that a real man lost his life. Like, don't get lost in the
minis.
like someone actually did die here. And I think
Unhinged
that's something that a
minis.
lot of prosecutors sometimes forget. And you don't want the jury to forget that. But at the end of the day, the decision can't be made on emotion for either side.
Well, that's why we thought yesterday they would have paid the verdict because this child proved so much more reasonable stuff.
You thought more so than the first one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Stronger.
Interesting.
Because the first case was stronger. Because the first case, you had all the witnesses of
Yeah.
Alberts.
They only had 6 witnesses.
Yeah, they focused on the people at the house. This year, they focused on just
The
Zion. Karen.
I think that I'm not surprised I didn't come back yesterday, although I wanted the picture. Because I think that the jury's way of giving justice to
That will be
John
right.
is by sleeping.
Yeah. That's what we want every jury to do, right? We want them to take their time. We don't want them to rush through anything, but we do want them to make a decision. That's another interesting part here, right? Because this jury, during the course of the testimony, they know there was a first trial. Whether they were paying attention during the first trial or just sitting in the courtroom, you know that there was a trial.
Right.
So that plays one of two ways, right? Either like it gives them an out, like, oh, the first jury.
Vinny's making an interesting point here. Because I've thought about that. Like the jury does know. I mean, they have to know. It just depends on how observant they are. And if they know that there was a first trial, then I wonder if they know that ARCA was hired by the FBI and that there was a federal investigation. See, but the federal investigation, that could go one of two ways too. That the federal investigation could be bad. Because if there was no federal investigation, or if there was nothing to come of the federal investigation, then that might look like, you know, there's nothing to see here. You know what I mean? Like, why weren't charges brought if the feds were looking into this case? If the feds were investigating the cops or the DA, I mean, there's no way that this jury, unless they already knew it, there's no way that this jury would know that the feds were investigating specifically Michael Morrissey's district attorney's office.
Jury didn't do it, so we don't have to, or the first jury didn't do it, we need to do it. We need to do it. Yeah, so you shall
I
say.
just can't get past. They proved
So Vinny
everything
thinks
so much.
Vinny thinks that if the jury realizes that there was a first trial and they didn't come to a decision, then it's on us and we need to make a decision. I don't know if they're thinking that deep. After hearing Ronnie, I don't have a lot of faith in juries, dude. I don't have the same faith in juries that I had going into the first trial. You know what I mean? After hearing Ronnie, I was like, bro, are you serious, dude? No capacity for independent thought. I didn't get an impression of that at all.
Trial, like they said, they weren't focused on the people in the house and that thing because
It was more about, yeah.
it was more about the technical stuff, science and physics. Because they don't have to prepare the defense if they have to prepare to
That's
do it.
exactly true.
You know what
I mean,
they have to prove, and even what it
this is the curse and blessing. This is why justice is blind, because a jury of your peers is exactly that, completely unpredictable. But that's what makes it fair. Random people of your community weighing evidence and seeing if you're guilty of a crime or if you're guilty of what you're accused of or not. So there's no way to know. There's no way to know which way the jury's really going to lean. You don't know what's being discussed in there. You don't know who's got the most influence. You don't know if anybody's being shut up in there. You don't know if the shit's being tampered with, for fuck's sake. You don't know anything. We don't know anything. But just as juries go. All right. Hold on a second here. as far as juries go, people, as far as juries go, honest juries,
So
juries that
Councilor
aren't tampered
Chicana-
with, they're random. You never fucking know. You don't know what the fuck's going on. But this is a good thing. That's what makes it fair. So I don't know what the fuck's going on right now. I wonder if the jury has a question. So I see Nick Rocco and I see my man Mr. Woke. Dude just graduated law school. Got this internship under his belt. This dude is going to be able to write his own fucking ticket. I'm so stoked for that kid. Yeah, man. Like, you know what's interesting? Like, behavior tells you a lot, right? Behavior tells you a lot because you go on X, Twitter, and you don't see shitty memes about Peggy O'Keefe. You don't see shitty memes. I mean, you see them about Paul, but Paul had those coming. They're about Paul sending selfies to fucking and using a fucking murder trial as a dating site. That's he's getting shit for that. And you know, it's a little difficult to feel sorry for him for it. But you don't see anybody doing this with Peggy O'Keefe, but you see the most horrible shit about Nathan, about Bill, about Janet.
Bob, I can't do this. I can't.
I can't do this. I can't do this. What? No, we don't have a verdict yet. I'd be shocked if we had a verdict. Just making sure everybody's still awake. Number 3, what? Oh my God. What do you think, Bob?
What could be more egregious? What could be more misleading than that? And what could be more important?
What indeed, Bob? What indeed? No horns in the buffer zone. Like, this trial is fucking rigged, and it's in writing. It's on the verdict form. The verdict form is written proof that this trial is fucking rigged.
Counsel, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to read the questions to you now. So please take your seats. So I'm going to read the questions. I'm going to have them marked.
Right, Charlie?
Then I will take a short recess, let you all talk about it, and then come back.
Thank you.
So, all right. So I received 3 questions from the jury. The first one is, they appeared on note cards, so that I don't know what order they came in, but this is the order I got.
Just read the fucking questions, man.
What is the time frame for the OUI charge? Offense 002, Section 5, OUI at 12:45 or OUI at 5 a.m.? The second, are video clips of Karen's interviews evidence? How can we consider them? And the third, does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2 number 5, convict the overall charge? So I will give you some
shocker.
time to
They're
consult.
confused with the
I
verdict
think
form.
The first one,
Shocker.
I'll hear from you as to what the time frame is, and I don't need to hear from you now. That's pretty clear cut what they're looking for. The second one are video clips of Karen's interviews evidence. How can we consider them? Well, we know they are evidence, and they can give them whatever weight they want. I would also be inclined to give a humane practice instruction, and tell me if you want the digital evidence instruction. It's a little awkward because it would be something
That's fucking
like,
great.
Before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it is more likely true than not that the person who appeared in the communication was in fact Karen Reed. So think about that.
The way that's asked, how can we consider those video clips as evidence?
But I think it's appropriate
This
to
is
give
a good
humane
thing.
practice instruction, and also tell me what you think about what to say
Because
about
Bev's
the weight.
like, well, you're
The
the
third
jury.
question is a little
Weigh it
bit
out.
more, I think,
Whatever
unclear
weight
as
you
to
put to 'em.
exactly what they're looking for. Does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2 number 5, convict the overall charge? What I'm proposing, I gave you both a verdict slip where I included the language. I know yesterday I said they have to be read hand in hand, the jury instructions with the verdict slip. I've incorporated the language from the jury instruction into the verdict slip. I've given each side a copy. When I come out, I'd like your input on whether you think this is appropriate. I would instruct them, as I did before, that they start at the top and work their way down. That's the only thing I did not specifically put in here, but I think it takes it step by step.
All right, I'm calling it.
An analysis to do it.
I'm calling it. My prediction, not guilty and hung on, not guilty on 2 of the charges and hung on the OUI charge. That's what I'm calling.
20 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So let's hear those questions again.
To you now, so please take your seats. So I'm going to read the questions. I'm going to have them marked. Then I will take a short recess, let you all talk about it, and then come back.
Thank you.
So, all right. So I received 3 questions from the jury. The first one is, they appeared on note cards, so that
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
what order they came in, but this is the order I got them. This is the order I'm going to read them. What is the time
Nobody
frame
gives a
for
fuck,
the
lady.
OUI charge? Offense 002, Section 5, OUI at 12:45 or OUI at 5 a.m.?
Right.
The second, are video clips of Karen's interviews evidence? How can we consider them?
Okay, see, I love that. Let's talk about that for a second. Are the video clips of Karen actually evidence? Like right there, it comes off like, what the fuck are we supposed to do with those? That means that they don't consider them evidence. That means that they already consider them like bullshit. Like, what the fuck was that? That's what's between the lines there. And in my opinion, that's how I'm interpreting that. I'm interpreting that as simply, what the fuck is this shit? Are we supposed to like, are these supposed to be like admissions of guilt? Are we supposed to discuss or dismiss them because we don't know the context in which they were said, because they're just cherry-picked little clips? So what do we do with that? The fuck are we supposed to do with that? That's how that's coming off to me. So that's actually a good thing.
And the third, does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2, number 5, convict the overall charge? So I will give you some time to consult. I think the first one, I'll hear from you as to what the time frame is, and I don't need to hear from you now. That's pretty clear cut what they're looking for. The second one are video clips of Karen's interviews evidence. How can we consider them? Well, we know they are evidence and they can give them whatever weight they want. I would also be inclined to give a humane practice instruction, and tell me if you want the digital evidence instruction. It's a little awkward because it would be something like, before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it is more likely true than not that the person who appeared in the communication was in fact Karen Reed. So think about that when you when I come back out. But I think it's appropriate to give a humane practice instruction, and also tell me what you think about what to say about the weight. The third question is a little bit more, I think, unclear as to exactly what they're looking for. Does
You know why it's unclear? Because the verdict form is unclear.
convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2, number 5, convict the overall charge? What I'm proposing, I gave you both a verdict slip where I included the language. I know yesterday I said they have to be read hand in hand, the jury instructions with the verdict slip. I've incorporated the language from the jury instruction into the verdict slip. I've given each side a copy. When I come out, I'd like your input on whether you think this is appropriate. I would instruct them, as I did before, that they start at the top and work their way down. That's the only thing I did not specifically put in here, but I think it takes it step by step,
Okay.
an analysis to do it.
Okay, shut up for a second, Bev. As per Mark Betterow, the mighty Mark Betterow, 2 minutes ago, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the jury appears confused on count 2 and the lesser includes, most notably the OUI. It does appear the jury is entirely focused on the OUI based on all 3 questions, which seems to be a very bad sign for the prosecution. However, the inclusion of the OUI does seem to be marking at least one juror consider that off-ramp rather than an full-blown acquittal. All in all, didn't sound great for a conviction of any of the homicide-related charges. So, right. So, once again, folks, I am validated by a brilliant attorney. Do not underestimate the skills developed at the Glare Institute of Law and Stuff. Do not. I was validated by the mighty Mark Betterow once again. So, yeah, they seem totally focused on the OUI. And I don't think now I'm predicting that they're not even gonna be a full conviction. I have to believe there's at least one juror on that jury that's like, dude, it's been 3 fucking years, bro. I'm not gonna slap this lady with a fucking OUI, bro. This is the second time she's been to trial, dude. Look at the shit we just saw. Look at this shit show we just watched. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be at least one juror that's thinking that. You know what I'm saying? I have to believe that. I have to believe that there's at least one juror who's just like, dude, an OUI, dude. Is everybody in here fucking serious, dude? I'm not convicting this lady of a fucking OUI, dude. I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking doing it. Like, I would absolutely full on objective perspective here. If I didn't know Karen Reed, if I didn't know any of these people, if I wasn't familiar with this shit, I'd be like, it's just nothing in my fucking spirit, in my character, in my soul that would allow me to sit there fucking quiet and vote to convict her on an OUI, dude. There's no fucking way. It'd be like giving her a fucking jaywalking ticket after the fact. That, you know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like to me. It'd be like a real super fuck you to this woman, bro. You know, after everything she's been through, it just seems like it feels like a super fuck you. Like the equivalent of a jaywalking cite. I'm going to cite you for jaywalking 3 years after the fact. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm not doing that. There's no way. And they didn't prove she was drunk. This is the fact that cannot be overlooked. Fuck the whole morality aspect of it. Let's look at it from the legal aspect of it. They didn't prove that she was drunk. She admitted to having drinks. But come on. Dude, they tested her blood alcohol. Like, that's why they're like, dude, are we supposed to convict her? Because even the fact that they're asking, like, are we supposed to do this for like 12:45 or 5 in the morning, bro? Like, which, if we're going to convict her on an OUI, is it because she was drunk at 12:30 or is it because she was drunk at 5 in the morning? Which one is it? And if they say 5 in the morning, that's a full fucking acquittal right there. You know why that's a full fucking acquittal? Because she could have been drinking at John's house the whole fucking time. She could have went home from 34 Fairview and started drinking at John's house. So that would be a full fucking acquittal right there. And the thing is if they're hung up on 12:30, they don't even believe this shit happened. They're like, so what are we doing here? So was she drunk at 12:30 or 12 or 5 in the morning? What are we talking about? The fuck are we even talking about here? Are we even to this point now where we believe that she was fucking. I mean, what are we doing here? that's so what that feels like. Well, right, for the 5 a.m. charge, but that's the whole thing. It's like, are we here? Did we just watch a whole fucking trial where we're going to convict somebody of a fucking DUI, bro? Like, is that what's going on here? There's a murder trial. She's being accused of murdering a cop. She was the only one to fucking help him, from what it seems like. And we're going to slap her with a fucking DUI? Hold on. So let's go back to Vinnie. Vinnie's entertaining me, man.
What if
You never want the burden shifted onto you as a defendant.
What did Brenna say in the closing? Something about like, well, we know we didn't prove it, but what was it? What did he say? I don't know. He said something about like, well, we know we didn't prove that. Don't quote me.
No, we got to quote her. We need a direct quote.
About they didn't prove that John got hit by a car.
Right.
And that was in his.
That's what the case is about.
Right.
It
And he
really
said that to
hinges
the
on
jury.
was there a collision or was there not a collision? Because if there's no collision, then it's not guilty. If there is a collision, then there's guilty of something, perhaps. Right? Even if there's a collision, the jury can
But there
do
was
whatever they
no
want.
collision, and John was not hit by a car.
It wasn't.
Well, that's
Just didn't prove.
and that's an element of all the charges, except the last one is that there has to be a collision. It has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So
Right.
we shall see. All right, thank you so much.
We don't think that they proved
Yeah.
anything.
They didn't.
The Commonwealth.
But you're not a juror.
I know.
Like,
She might as well
it's almost
be.
like a jury box here, right? It's almost like you're sitting in the jury box.
I wish we
If you were the jury, who would be the foreperson?
anybody, but this is like, they wouldn't even have to
Make
go
sure
to
everybody's
the
not guilty.
Oh, there you go. I'm a person. I'm an alternate. I'm always an alternate.
Oh,
I
wait,
never
man.
get picked for jury.
Always
You
an
guys
alternate.
want.
Always an alternate, never a juror.
Thank you,
I said they-
Kiki,
They wouldn't have even.
for
had
the
to
ham
walk to the car.
sandwich.
You would have been like, not guilty.
Thank you. All right, so you get a flavor here. Again, compared to yesterday, we've got a leaner crowd here today. Yeah, what's this doggy's name? Everybody loves dogs. Who is this? Holly Louise. Look at that. So you put a dog on here, you watch the number of viewers just goes up and up and up. They'd rather see a dog than me, right? Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Oh, sorry, sir. Again, look here. Look to the crowd.
Dude, I can't stress
Where
that
is
shit enough.
everybody? Where is everybody?
I can't stress that shit enough, dude. Dude, after all of this shit, to slap Karen Reed with a fucking petty ass OUI, dude, what kind of bullshit is that? You know what I mean? Like, they need to just let her walk, dude. Like, It's been 3 fucking years. Get real, dude. Like, we're not even here because she was drunk driving, dude. We're not even here for that. If I'm on that jury, I would be shouting this shit. I'd be like, we're not even here because somebody was driving drunk, dude. Think about that. It's not even why we're here. And then we're going to just fucking slap her with a OUI just because it's the right thing to do. It's the law. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, what are they going to appeal? Is the Commonwealth going to appeal the OUI? Like, come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, millions spent on a fucking OUI, dude. Get out of my face with that, dude. 400 fucking grand, almost 500 grand for some asshole to fucking play with paint. No way. Like, I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't see human beings sitting there and being that fucking petty. Oh, law and crime is right. Like, are they gonna get that's another great point. Are they gonna get all the McAlberts on OUIs too? And Higgins? Is that what they're gonna do? Are they gonna get Brian Albert on an OUI? Come on. Like, let's just fucking keep this real. Oh, yeah, hold on. I was supposed to rewind to that part where it's about right here. Oh, I have it muted.
Why don't you come on up?
Should be right here. Get to the bottom of that hot mic. Find out what was said. Yeah, Chris Albert did kill a man. And Beverly Cannoni's brother defended him. That's also a fun fact, if you guys didn't know. For those of you just jumping on the Karen Reed bandwagon for trial 2. Not that that's a dig, just saying. Mr. Magoo Albert.
Bob, I can't do this. I can't.
Bob, I can't do this. I can't. Yeah. It was just it was AJ saying that to Bob. That's all it was. I mean, that could have been anything. It could have been anything. It doesn't mean it was something super important. All right, so the mighty Mark Betterow tweeted again. and I should read this. He says, also brace yourself for the doomsday scenario that only would happen in this trial. A hung jury on a middleman or OUI and the possibility of confusion that results in a possible retrial of a manslaughter. Point that may very well be acquitted as the jury wrestles with a misdemeanor. So again, the mighty Mark Betterow validates my shit and says and predicts that the worst thing here would be that they convict on an OUI. But I think that they're going to be hung on an OUI. That's what I think. What does that mean in layman's terms? I'll read it again. Also, brace yourself for the doomsday scenario, for the worst case scenario that only would happen in this trial. And it would only happen in this trial, meaning this is the craziest shit ever. A hung jury on a middleman or OUI and the possibility of confusion that results in a possible retrial of a manslaughter. Okay? So that would only happen. A hung jury on a middleman. Hung jury on a middleman, and I'm assuming he means by middleman, he means one of the lesser charges. Point that may very well be acquitted as the jury wrestles with a misdemeanor. So the jury wrestling with a misdemeanor. Oh, wait. Okay, we're back, bro.
On the first question, the time of the OUI, any suggestions?
Your Honor, do you want to hear from the defense first?
I'll hear from you're standing up, so I'll hear from you first.
Okay. On question number 1, what is the time frame for the OUI charge? Offense 002, section 5, OUI at 12:45 or OUI at 5 a.m. Our suggestion would be something along the lines of, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have the evidence. It's your decision.
You are the fact finder.
You're the fact finder.
Mr. Brennan, or whomever from the Commonwealth?
My suggestion would be 12:45.
And why is that?
Yeah.
The case has always been focused at that time. I don't think there's anything specific in the indictment regarding the time.
Do we have the indictments?
No. Yeah, this guy sucks. Nobody likes this guy.
It's not in the indictment.
The time would be
12:30.
12:30.
I'm sorry?
If it's not in the indictment, I'm uncomfortable telling them a time.
Understood.
All right.
I agree with the court on principle. I just don't have the indictment memorized, so I don't remember. If we can pull that up.
There's no time?
There's no time on the indictment.
All right. So I'll say you have the evidence, and remember, you are the fact finders, or something to that effect. All right.
Right. Why? I don't know. Just cut.
The video clips Karen's
That's why we're
interviews
here.
evidence. How can we consider them? So I'll tell you what I was planning on saying, then you can add to it.
Sure.
Yes, the videos are evidence. Give them whatever weight you think is appropriate to give them. And then I would give the digital evidence instruction and the humane practice instruction.
The only thing I would respectfully ask the court to include in that sentence is give them whatever weight, if any, you deem appropriate.
All right.
If any.
Okay.
Thank you. Otherwise, it's fine.
So Spanky here wants it to be 12:45 just cuz. Like, it's so funny. And what's funny about that is it's better for Karen because they're going to be like, well, how the fuck do we know what you know what I'm saying?
What's the Commonwealth's position?
There's no evidence that she was drunk at 12:45.
Okay.
The first part of the question, are the video
They didn't
clips
do a breathalyzer at that time.
The answer should be yes.
Okay.
How can we consider them? I think it's fair to say you should weigh the defendant's statements as you would evidence. Since they've been introduced substantively, they are like any other piece of evidence. There's no difference, and there shouldn't be any
reflection of a difference in the answer. We didn't introduce any evidence in this case and say you should give it any weight, if any at all. We did
Exactly,
provide
Liz.
a
Exactly.
limiting
That's what I'm
instruction
saying.
way, and these shouldn't be so limited. This is just like a photograph. It's no different than a physical piece of evidence. And so I think the answer should simply be yes, you should weigh the defendant's statements as you would any other piece of evidence. I do not think the court should give humane practice or digital evidence. It suggests that there's some deterioration or further analysis that is different.
I mean, of course he's going to fight for that. That's his whole case. That's all he has that he considers evidence.
Jury instructions. And so, to put it most simply, as I think that we should, is this is a piece of evidence, and you weigh it like you would any other piece of evidence, whatever they decide, rather than give them guidance to curtail it or to limit it in any fashion.
Yeah. So
my only suggestion, Your Honor, is that every single piece of evidence that's provided to them, it's in keeping with Massachusetts laws, in keeping with the responsibility that they have. Every single evidence is given the weight, if any, they deem appropriate. That is not a misapplication of the law. I think the Commonwealth's suggestion suggests in the answer that they should or they have to give those statements weight, and the law is they don't have to give them any weight. So I think the appropriate comment by the court is exactly as the court suggested initially, which is you give it whatever weight, if any, you deem appropriate.
Right. Spanky's pushing for that because that's he put his whole case on this, on those stupid fucking clips. How many motions were filed? Trying to get off the record statements from Karen Reed. He invested everything into those video clips. That's all he's got. Right. Juicing recipes. I completely agree with what you're saying. They could absolutely, if I'm on that jury, common sense dictates, dude, you know how many times I've seen clips that were taken out of context? You know, like, let's at least look at it from that perspective. What was said right before? Like, I just wouldn't, that's how I would weigh that evidence. I'd be like, what are these supposed to be? And they're only weighing that evidence as to whether or not to convict her on an OUI. That's it. Is she supposed to sit there and say that, you know, when she's talking about putting a shot into a drink because they don't make them strong enough, are they supposed to consider that evidence that she drove drunk? That's what that question meant to me. I think so too, Kevin Keene. I think so too. I think that young jurors, I was saying that earlier. I like the idea that this jury's kind of young because they're probably more tech savvy than an older jury. And I like that they live in an age of video. So they know when things are clipped and taken out of context. And, you know, these are people who live on social media.
All right. So what I'm going to say is, yes, the videos are evidence. You should weigh the defendant's statements as you would any other piece of evidence and give them whatever weight you deem appropriate. But first, Then I'll go and I'll read the electronic.
No, if
communications
any.
and the
She left the
humane
if any
factors.
out.
That covers it.
If the, I don't have a principled objection to it if the court adds the word if any.
I understand.
Because every single, I don't want them to think, for instance, the way that it's worded as the Commonwealth suggested it, they have to weigh it the same way they weigh other pieces of evidence. Every single piece of evidence is weighed in and of itself. It's individual to the piece of evidence that's presented. For instance, they could weigh the statements by Ms. Reed. They could give it no weight. Each individual juror could decide, I'm going to dispatch it altogether and give it no weight, while giving another piece of evidence, like whatever that might be, the testimony of one of the ARCA witnesses, complete weight. I think that we need to stress that the clips bear no additional weight, no additional gravity than anything else that they've considered. And the only way to do that is very simply, you provide, you give this the weight, if any, that you decide is appropriate. It doesn't, I think, comparing it and contrasting to other pieces of evidence in the case, it's unnecessary, and it tends to suggest they have to give it weight.
Okay. So your objection's noted. Now
Wow,
let's get to
Bev.
the third one.
Bev is such a piece of shit.
Does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2, number 5, convict the overall charge? What do you want to say, Mr. Jackson?
Your Honor, I appreciate the effort that the court went to amend the verdict slip as it relates to count 2. And I think there are some excellent suggestions by the court in the verdict slip. By and large, I think question number 3 is answered by the amendments in the verdict slip. So we certainly could say something like, does convicting guilty, the question was, quote, does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2, number 5, convict the overall charge? The answer is no, obviously. And perhaps we could formulate an answer that says something along the lines of no, new verdict slips have been provided that will make it more clear, or something of that nature. As well as a decision of guilty on the OUI charge 002, number 5, is an explicit acquittal on the higher charges in offense 002, which is a proper statement of the law. And then there are suggestions that we have regarding the edits that the court has made to the verdict slip. And I'm happy to go over those with you and put those on the record.
Yeah, I mean,
with regard to
he's got to
from
be
the top to the bottom,
articulate. You can't just say no.
just under number 1. Number 1 reads, not guilty of the offense charged or any lesser included offense. We would propose that the court add the language, the consistent language that it's added throughout the verdict slip. If you, quote, if you find the defendant not guilty of the offense charged or any lesser included offense, comma, stop and sign the verdict slip, period. That's the only place that that language doesn't appear, and I think it should appear.
Okay.
The second is a relatively minor issue. However, under number 2, sub 2, the parenthetical check one or both of the following, I think it should say, just to clarify it further, if guilty, comma, check one or both of the following.
All right. I think I'm going to leave it because it appears only under the guilty.
It appears only on?
Under the guilty. So go ahead. I'll hear you further.
Going further, going under number 3, toward the bottom of the page, in the parenthetical that the court suggested, which we find is excellent. If you find the defendant guilty
Bev is like
of the lesser
so
offense
on my nerves, man.
of involuntary manslaughter, we would simply add that clause.
So we'd have to add it in all of them.
Correct.
Which makes sense. I think
Correct.
we had it in the first one.
Right.
Okay.
And then moving to page 2, at the top of the page under sub 4, again.
Hold on one second.
Of course.
Okay.
We have the same suggestion. It appears that the court is not inclined to give it. If guilty, check one or both of the following. And there's a typo. It says the parenthetical
We fixed
says,
it.
check one of. Okay.
Yes, so we changed of to or.
So my only suggestion to that would be to, again, add the if guilty, comma, check one or both of the following.
Okay.
On that page, going down to the bolded parenthetical, same thing. If you find the defendant guilty of the lesser offense of motor vehicle homicide.
Okay.
Moving down under sub 5, the
We still
OUI.
need to say stop and sign the verdict slip.
Right. After the word stop and sign the verdict slip.
Yeah.
And then under sub 5, again, the same thing. We just suggested that for consistency that it say, if guilty, check one of the following of the both. And the final edit would be in the final parenthetical, the last sentence. If you find, I think her should be
Yeah.
changed to the defendant. If you find the defendant not guilty on this offense and all other offenses, check the first box on page 1.
Okay.
And those are the edits that we have suggested for the verdict
All
slip.
right. Mr. Brennan?
I don't have any disagreement with the edits.
Okay.
The idea of instructing them on the nuance of selecting one guilty or not guilty, I don't think needs to be explained. I think that the edits, this proposed instruction explains it.
All right. Would
I
I,
don't have any issue with if you state, if you decide on a lesser included offense, it does not include the earlier offense. And I'm not sure of the exact language that can be used. I don't think that's necessary, but that is something I wouldn't have an objection to. But I think the form that you filled it out with the edits is going to be sufficient for them to follow.
what do you think about the defendant's position that
Dude,
if you were to find her guilty of operating under the influence, Mr. Jackson said explicit acquittal. I don't like that language. I think if you find it, it means you have found her not guilty of each of the others.
That would be fine with us.
I think it's better if you find her guilty of any lesser included offense. It would not include the higher offense.
All right.
I think that's just confusing.
So what I planned on doing was bringing them out. and
right. Like,
giving them each a copy of the amended verdict slip, explaining that it really
why
is
are you trying to
consistent with the
confuse
jury
this jury?
instructions I gave them, but walking them through it. So we start from the top and then explain, if you find the defendant guilty, you're done. Stop, sign the verdict slip, and let the court officer know you have a verdict or something.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I think I'll walk them through it like we do in civil cases.
I don't have any objection to that. The only other thing is the digital instruction.
Yes.
We don't believe that it's necessary. I don't think that we should reemphasize that, and we're not asking for it. That
All
would
right,
be-
so you're waiving it?
We're waiving it.
Okay.
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
I will do humane instruction, humane practice instruction. So I need 5 minutes, and Tori, your computer, to amend this if we can, and we'll make copies. So we'll bring them here as well. Let them know that we'll be bringing them in
Right.
shortly, Tony. All right, thank you.
yeah, like, why is Bev? I mean, we know why Brendan's trying to confuse the jury, but why is Bev like even considering it? Why not make it very easy for the jury? I don't understand. Like, why the extra effort to confuse the jury? This seems really fucked up. I've never seen any of this shit happen in any other trial, dude. I've covered so many fucking trials. I have never seen this shit happen in any other trial where there's all this confusion over jury instructions to come to a verdict. It's absolutely wild. That alone should tell you that there is fuckery afoot. I mean, that alone. Like, there is clearly fuckery afoot here. Why confuse the jury? What good comes out of that? Why Why is all this doctoring have to be done? Why is all this patching up have to be done with jury forms, with verdict forms? Why does the language in verdict forms need to be corrected over and over? I've never seen that shit. Like, you look at the verdict form and you're like, wait a second. Why is there like, there's only at the top of the page some reference to not guilty, but there's no choice to vote not guilty on any of it? What is going on here? Why do they have to file motions and argue about having an option to find the defendant who is presumed innocent until proven guilty not guilty? Why is there a lacking of an option to do that? And why is Bev being combative about it? Like, it's real easy to look at this shit and just be like, oh, well, I mean, she's the judge and, well, you know. But no, dude, like, if it seems fucking shitty, it probably is. Like, all you have to do is just compare it to any other fucking trial you have ever covered, you have ever followed. It's all you have to do. Compare it to any other trial that you've ever followed. Like, why is this happening? This is the question that we all need to be asking. This is the question the media needs to be asking. Why isn't the media asking these questions? And everybody's just assuming that it's on the up and up because it's the fucking government doing it. What? Dude, shit's scary, dude. Shit's scary. Like, dude, your independence, I'm telling you right now, your independence is in grave danger. Is there any other kind? It's a fact. Your independence is in grave danger. How many people think about it? Think about AI, right? Now people are using AI to write their YouTube scripts, right? AI is doing people's thinking for them. It was one thing with Google. Google was just information. It's just a tool where you could just look something up. But now there's AI, okay? And the more dependent you become on it, like for thought, for fucking thought, dude, your ability to think independently is in grave danger at the moment. And people don't even realize it. Everybody's just like, yay, AI, it's super fun. But it is. And the fact that the media is not talking about how there is a gross miscarriage of justice taking place in Norfolk County. They're not covering it in that sense. Where the fact that they're not having attorneys on their panels on Fox News talking about this, more Mark Betterow on Fox News is what we need. People who are actually talking about the fuckery that is afoot and is in everyone's face. We just watched it happen. We just watched these people argue over language in a verdict form that is misleading towards a guilty verdict. Dude, it's like there's an election and you've got two people running against each other, but they leave one of the candidates' names off the ballot. And so you're like, okay, well, I what do I do? Like, I know who I want to vote for. What do I do? The fuck? Why don't I have an option to vote for the candidate that I want? What's up, Esty? What's the vibe like in there? Dude, I'm trying to tell you, it's the scariest thing about this is not that this is happening to Karen Reed, although be it as it may, it is scary as fuck. But this is not the scariest thing that is happening. The scariest thing that is happening is that the media is not talking about it for what it is. That's the scariest thing about it. I mean, and it's bullshit because like I could play the game. I could play the game for being a person of limited skills, right? The surefire way for me to become a successful YouTuber, like fucking Peter, lawyer, level, right? The only way for me to do that is to fucking toe the line and not talk about this stuff and kind of pretend like it's a crazy conspiracy theory, and I'm not going to entertain that. And then I'm going to just discuss little aspects of these things instead of the elephant in the fucking room. I could do that, but this is the problem: is someone who won't toe that line is not going to break more than 700 viewers at a time after a while. That's just how that works. That's just how it is. So people are going to get the information that they're going to seek out, that's comfortable for them to hear. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to go to the platforms that provide that, such as Court TV, such as the news, any mainstream media outlet. The idea is to pump out product, right? The idea is to advertise. It's to feed people bullshit so that they could stuff their faces with McDonald's. I mean, that's what it's for. Yeah, I mean, it's just how that is, dude. Like, anybody willing to point out the truth is a threat. Look at what's happening to Aiden. Aiden is afraid of going to jail for doing his job. That's the reality we live in. And again, and the irony of that is the media won't talk about that. The irony of that is that Turtle Boy's ability to have freedom of the press is being threatened, and the media is not supporting him. The media is barely covering it. And he has this threat of going to jail looming over him at all times. And it's for them. It's for their freedom of speech. It's for the very media platforms' freedom of speech that will not talk about his fight for their freedom of speech. That is irony at its worst form. It is incredibly ironic. Not only have they've done worse than demonize him. They know demonizing him only makes him more popular. Demonizing him makes him more appealing. What they do is they minimize him by calling him a blogger. It's the language. Everything's in the language. He's a blogger. They won't say independent journalist. They won't say that. Or gonzo journalist. They won't say these things. They won't say these things because what Turtle Boy represents is a threat to them. That's why. It's just that simple. If they make a hero out of Aiden Carney, then you got a whole bunch of fucking, he's going to inspire a whole bunch of mini Turtle Boys running around trying to do what he does. And then there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to be good at it. And those people that are going to be good at it represent one thing to mainstream media: a threat. Period. A threat. This is why they minimize him. They don't demonize him. They minimize him. Yeah, it's just bizarre, dude. I'm telling you, man, it's just bizarre. The world we're living in right now. All right. Seeing some great posts from people about these jury questions. So, Colonel Boy, of course, he says all the questions indicate that they are hung on the OUI charge and the OUI charge only, which is very true. Just Machado says just all she did was post the questions, which is great. Grateful to her for that. And Larry Foreman, the DUI guy, homie, he posts the questions and then he says this jury wants to convict her on the OUI and acquit on everything else. I called it. I disagree with Larry, the DUI guy. And I know that's bold. This is what he does. This is literally what he does. And I know this is bold, but I disagree with him. I don't think the jury wants to convict on the OUI. I think the jury is considering convicting on the OUI, and I predict that they will be hung on the OUI charge. Mark Randazza posted, I'm not surprised it's taking this long for a verdict. If you were trying to make a confusing verdict form, I don't think you could have made one worse. I mean, how fucking hard is it to list each offense and then just have a box next to it that says guilty or not guilty? Exactly. I love when lawyers validate my shit. Mark Randazza being one of my favorite lawyers. I love it. Like, that's literally what he wrote. I mean, how fucking hard is it to list each offense and then have a box next to it that says guilty or not guilty? Why is this happening? And why isn't this being talked about on mainstream media? On media platforms that are screaming from the rooftops about your independence being at risk. Your freedom being at risk. Oh, it's the right that's the threat to your freedom. Oh, it's the left that's the threat to your freedom. Fuck all that. This problem that's happening in Norfolk County could infect the water and spread all over the United States. And if that happens, we have a serious problem. Because this happening in any county, city, state, anywhere in the United States of America, if this is happening anywhere in the United States in America, that's happening to Karen Reed, it is a fucking travesty. I cannot overstate that. It is a fucking travesty, and it should not be accepted. It should be fought. It should be spoken out on, and it should be fought. The entire country needs to have eyes on Norfolk County and asking them and holding them accountable and saying, as an American county in a state, in a commonwealth in the United States of America, you need to do better. You represent the rest of us poorly. Get your shit together. Clean the shit up. That's what needs to happen. It's a travesty. And it's a travesty that the media is not talking about how much of a travesty it is. Yeah, every single patriotic American should be looking at Norfolk County right now and saying, shame on you, you need to do better. And I don't mean like a Joey Swole, you need to do better. I mean like, get your shit together or we're going to take action. We're going to insist on federal intervention. This is what needs to happen. And federal intervention, by the way, is a real bad thing. I don't like the idea of federal intervention, but unfortunately, the corruption in Norfolk County in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts runs deep. And I do suspect it. I do suspect the corruption in Norfolk County and in the Massachusetts state, the state and Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I do believe it to be, wait for it, gubernatorial. I absolutely believe it to be. So when it gets that bad, when the head of the snake is venomous, then it requires federal intervention. And that makes me mad because I don't like federal intervention. I like what makes the United States the United States. I like states that govern themselves without federal intervention. I like counties that are capable of doing this. I'm a big fan of Knoxville County. I'm a big fan of how Glenn Jacobs, the Big Red Machine, Kane, the WWE, Kane, he is the mayor of Knox County. I love it. Dude, the way that he handled COVID was beautiful. Was fucking beautiful. Yeah, that dude is great. That dude is great. But yes, there is a big problem when we need federal intervention. Dude, I'm telling you, Knox County, there's a lot of people moving here, though, man. I don't actually live in Knox County, but it's close enough. But it's, yeah, it's getting crowded. It's getting crowded. Dude, Mel Gibson speaking up on how California's being run right now. I love that shit. Mel Gibson runs for governor and wins. Like I said in my tweet, I'm moving. I'm moving to California for fucking sure. I love California. But I don't like the way blue states run right now. I just don't. Oh, I'd totally vote for AJ. I'd totally vote for AJ to be governor. Yeah, Massachusetts is fucking crazy, dude. Like, I don't know how the fuck you people do it, dude. I don't get it. And I get that there's like a lot of pride, man. You know, there's a lot of pride being like a native Bostonian. And I love that. I love that. That's one of my favorite qualities about Bostonians, you know. I love the pride that they have, but everybody that I've met and talked to are like, dude, what goes on here is fucking terrible. What goes on here is fucking awful. Like, the people in Massachusetts want the change. That's what's crazy. It's like the loyalty of living there, the loyalty of just being native and having all of these roots it is enough to keep people there and put up with the fucking shit that's happening. And they take advantage of it. You know, they're just like, yeah, these people they're just gonna fucking take it. We could tax the fuck out of them. We could blow their taxes on bullshit, line our pockets with it. Fuck them. They'll put up with it because they're
All right.
Fenway people.
All right, so we can bring the jurors over. Tori, do you have those?
Fucking
so Tony will take
disgusting.
those. All right.
Makes me mad.
All right, so I'll take. Thank you.
I've come to love Boston.
Tori,
Yeah, the
we
wokeness
need to
shit
make-
is just too much, dude. Yeah, the woke shit is just too fucking much, man. It's and it bugs me too because it just makes the average idiot lately. Like, I see just so much fucking horrible racism go on fucking Twitter. I'm like, God, it's like it just makes people mad to where they're just like, ah, this whole class and race of people are terrible. And I'm just like, no, man, no. And I blame the woke culture for it. I do. I blame the woke culture for people's fucking stupidity, dude. For the racism and stupidity. Yeah, like they created this whole fucking "you're with us or against us" bullshit. And I just don't buy into that because I don't think like that. I'm the kind of guy that's just like, no. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm with you or against you? What do you mean if I'm not BLM that I'm racist? That's not true. No. That's just always been me. Like, what do you mean if I don't celebrate Pride Month that I'm homophobic? What? No. No, it doesn't. Doesn't mean that at all. What are you talking about? Facts. Well said. Well said. I'd never met an ultimatum I liked. Like, it's just in my nature to push back if I'm pushed, bro. It's just in my nature. You give me an ultimatum, I present you with the fact that no ultimatum exists. It's not true. It's not a thing. One or the other? Aye.
All right, jurors, we're in receipt of your question. We've been working on making sure that the answers we give you are the right ones, so it's taken us a while. So the first question, what is the time frame for the OUI charge? Offense 002, Section 5, OUI at 12:45 or OUI at 5 a.m.? The answer to that question is that you folks have all the evidence. And remember, it's only you who decide the facts in this case. All right, that's the answer to that question. You are the fact finders. The second question, are video clips of Karen's interviews evidence? How can we consider them? Yes, the videos are evidence. You should weigh the defendant's statements in the videos as you would any other piece of evidence and give them whatever weight you deem appropriate. But first, before you may consider any such statement, you're going to have to make a preliminary determination whether it can be considered as evidence.
Asshole.
You may not consider any such statement in your deliberations for the truth of any such statement unless, from all the evidence in the case, the Commonwealth has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant made the statement that she's alleged to have made and that she made it voluntarily, freely, and rationally. So that's the answer to that question. So for the third question, does convicting guilty on a subcharge, example offense 2, number 5, convict the overall charge? So with that, what I'm going to do is I have amended the verdict slip. It's the exact same verdict slip, and it's still consistent with the jury instructions I gave you, but it's a little bit easier for you to follow. And for purposes of going through this, we'll go through it together, and I've got a copy for each one of you, okay?
What could be more egregious? What could be more misleading?
All right, so you'll see it really is the same verdict slip, but we've
what
added a little
could
bit of
be more
language to help you follow it through. So the first charge, manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor. So first, in the above entitled case, we say the defendant is, 1, not guilty of the offense charged or any lesser included offense. If you find the defendant not guilty of the offense charged or any lesser included offense, stop and sign the verdict slip. Now, then you go on to guilty of the offense of as charged, manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor. Check one or both of the following: manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor and or manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. If you find the defendant guilty of manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor, stop and sign the verdict slip. That means on each one, when you stop and sign the verdict slip, that means you have a verdict on this indictment. So stop and sign the verdict slip. If you find her not guilty of manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor, then continue below to the lesser included offense. And first, under 3 is involuntary manslaughter. If you find the defendant guilty of the lesser included offense of involuntary manslaughter, stop and sign the verdict slip. If you find her not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, then continue to the next page.
What?
Guilty of the lesser included offense of motor vehicle homicide, felony OUI, liquor, and negligence. And you have to check one or both of the
So,
following.
like, if you think she's not
Motor vehicle
guilty,
homicide
then you gotta
under the
fucking,
influence of
then it's a
liquor
choose your own
and/or
adventure
motor
book.
vehicle homicide by operating a
Lady,
motor vehicle with the
what
blood
kind of
alcohol
sham are
level
you
of
running here?
0.08 or greater. If you find the defendant guilty of the lesser included offense of motor vehicle homicide, felony OUI, liquor, and negligence, stop and sign the verdict slip. If you find her not guilty of motor vehicle homicide under the influence of liquor, then continue below to the guilty of the lesser included offense operating under the influence. And you check one or both of the following: operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor and or operating a motor vehicle with the blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. If you find the defendant guilty of operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor, then stop. If you find the defendant guilty, you stop and you sign the verdict slip. If you find the defendant not guilty on this offense and all other offenses, check the first box on page 1. And remember, your decision must be unanimous. All right, does that make it any clearer, hopefully? All right, so with that, I am going to send you back out.
Dude, only one kind
Why
of,
don't you come on over?
dude, only one kind of person writes a verdict slip like that. Like, constructs a fucking complicated ass verdict slip like that. Only one type of behavior that gels with that.
Yes! I like it.
Dude, that's some fucking crackhead shit, dude. That is like, that is straight cocaine psychosis constructing that verdict slip.
I heard myself say this, and I'm glad counsel told me I did. So if you go back and look at the form after 4, if you find the defendant guilty of the lesser included offense of motor vehicle homicide, felony, OUI, liquor, and negligence, stop and sign the verdict slip. If you find her not guilty of motor vehicle homicide under the influence of liquor, then continue below. I think I said, then find, I don't know what I said. I heard myself read the guilty of the lesser included offense. So if you find her not guilty of motor vehicle homicide under the influence of liquor, then you continue to decide whether the Commonwealth has proven to you beyond a reasonable doubt that she's guilty of operating under the influence of liquor. And if they have not, and if you find the defendant not guilty on this offense and all other offenses, then you go back and check the first box. So you follow it from the top to the bottom in this manner. Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to release you.
All right, please. Follow me.
Ooh, The Cure just came out with some new music. Right on. I'll give that a listen later. Bro, you can hear Bev's hooves fucking going through the goddamn courthouse. Oh, no, that wasn't Bev.
Jury's exited the courtroom. Please be seated.
Are you satisfied, Mr. Yannetti?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask everybody to stay a few minutes. I'll be back out in about 5
Are you satisfied? No, we're not fucking satisfied. That is fucking terrible, bro. Full acquittal, dude, for real. Like, dude, I can't stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. If this jury convicts her on a fucking OUI, you're assholes, bro. Like, just let her go, dude. I mean, really, something that fucking petty. After all this, you're gonna fucking, I mean, what a dig that is, dude. Like, that's some hair splitting shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, that is some hair splitting shit. All right. Let's check out something else, man. Let's do Trooper Paul again. I'm in the mood. Right, that's what I mean, Microdots. Time served, bro. Like, just let her go, bro. Like, that's it. Stop it already. Like, dude, if I convicted her on an OUI and I was on that jury, I would go into fucking hiding forever. I would never, ever want to be fucking seen in public and known that I did that. I would never want that shit. Dude, that is, you're gonna have a red A on you for like ever for that bullshit. Stop it. I don't want to hear, oh, well, she still broke the law. Get the fuck out of here. Stop. Stop it.
Get from point A to point B. You'd agree with that, right?
Yes.
You picked one of those, right? The path of travel includes freeways, etc., right?
Yes.
But as you sit here, you don't know what her actual path of travel was because it could have been something different, right?
It could have been something. That's why I gave a range on my diagram.
Do you have any scientific evidence to establish what her actual path of travel
you know
is,
you're
or
always
did you
welcome
just
in here,
guess
Deanna
at the
Corby.
path of travel?
I got the addresses from Trooper Proctor. I put them into the thing, and then one of the possibilities of 36 miles. And that was after looking at all of them. At 36 miles is a possibility.
Right. Understood. So that's what I'm trying to get to, Trooper Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, with this guy,
one
bro.
possibility. There was 36 miles.
Mhm.
One route of travel, right?
Correct.
There were other possibilities, right?
Yes.
So between and among the possibility that you picked and the other possibilities, you just sort of have to guess. And there's no science to it. You just said, I'm going to pick that one and put it in my report, right?
No, that's not how that works.
Okay, why don't you tell me how that works?
Yeah.
Her odometer mileage on the car from the download and the time we had the vehicle shows 36 miles. So when I plugged those addresses into Google, it came up as 36 miles as a possibility.
Wow.
And you knew that there was another route of travel to the
Wow,
same
man.
location.
That's some real scientific fucking.
What do you mean?
There were alternative routes of travel.
That's a hell of a
to the same 2
hypothesis,
points,
bro.
From and to. the same
What
points.
methodology?
Yes.
I love
Yes.
it.
You could have tried to extract the location data from the street's cell phone to determine the exact route of travel, correct?
I don't know. I don't have access to do self.
All right. So I don't know what the fuck's going on right now. Okay. Yeah, I guess they're just all at sidebar or whatever. I need another energy drink.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare
Deanna, thank you so much. It's good to see you as always. Liquor and Marlboro 100s. Huh. That is interesting. If they referred to her as Karen and not Miss Reed, that's pretty telling. Yeah, the ride's over. That's why you're not seeing these leeches that latch onto the O'Keefes to be on camera, like my girlfriend Tara. That's why you don't see her in there no more. The show's over, dude. The show's fucking over. Like, yeah, exactly, Microdots. They know it's a fucking loser. They know it's a fucking dud. A deflated balloon.
Oi, cunt.
You do, righty?
All right, so we'll see everybody at 1:30.
That's what, okay.
You know.
Like a spent whippet. All gone. It's a dud.
Attempt to analyze the key cycles for the Lexus in order to determine placement of that vehicle. You just talked about that with Mr. Lauper, right?
Yes.
I want to be clear for the jurors because most people have probably never heard of key cycles. A key cycle does not have any location data.
Thank you, Tina. Yes, we've been checking them here and there. Thank you. I do wish I was in Boston for this.
Data associated with it whatsoever, does it?
Correct.
It just shows you when a vehicle is turned on, the ignition is on and off. That's one cycle, correct?
No.
Tell me what I've got wrong.
Key cycle, the car doesn't have to be turned on.
Say that again.
It goes from off to run. The engine does not have to be started to off.
Understood. So if it turns on, well, every single ignition is a key cycle. Every time the engine turns on, that's absolutely a key cycle. Once it's turned off again, right?
That gets recorded as an ignition cycle.
Right. So a key cycle can be an ignition cycle, but it doesn't have to be an ignition cycle. It also can be just.
I love how when
the sort of
I love how when Tupapa here, when he knows something, he gets really cocky. He gets really arrogant. It's fun. It's when he gets something right, he gets all arrogant about it. It's really funny.
Accessory on, right?
The key cycles turn the accessories on.
All right. But it doesn't, my question was, and where we started with this conversation is, it does not have any location data on it whatsoever.
Correct.
All right. So when you drive your car, you walk out, get in the car, turn the ignition on, start to drive, get your location, turn it off. That's one key cycle, right?
One ignition cycle.
But and I'm going to use the word key cycles because you use the word key cycles in your report. That's what we're talking about.
I'm using that because that's how the trigger was read.
That's how what?
The triggers were read on the text stream. That's how they read them. Key cycles.
By key cycles.
Yes.
I'm going to use that phrase key cycle.
Okay.
We're talking about the same thing. It's an ignition on, ignition off cycle.
It doesn't have to be on.
So you mean the engine doesn't have to be turned on?
Correct.
Right. But if you're seeing triggering events, I'm not trying to be tricky here. Seeing triggering events, your car's in motion, what does that tell you? The ignition's on or off?
The ignition's on.
Right. That's what I'm getting to. But it has no location data associated with whatsoever. It could be here, it could be in Wyoming. The car wouldn't know the difference. It's not going to report the difference to you, correct?
On the key cycle,
Right.
On just the key cycle. The key cycle does not give out locations.
Say that again?
The key cycle does not give a location.
Right. So your analysis is trying to go from a known key cycle that you can figure out and then work backward from there to try to figure out where the car was on a particular ignition cycle or key cycle, correct?
I didn't use the key cycle to put it back.
Say that again?
I did not use the key cycle to place the car back in its location. The key cycles were, all I got from the key cycles is that they occurred close within proximity to the time we've had the vehicle, not basically saying that this was the location based off the key cycle.
Well, let's look at Exhibit 591 with the court's permission.
Okay.
Did you testify on Friday that this is a copy of the exhibit that was put in 591? This is part of your report, correct?
Yes, it is.
And this is a chart that shows when move to this arrow. That arrow indicates
It's so funny. Like,
top and
dude,
bottom.
I've never seen any shit like this before in my life. I haven't gone over this guy's testimony since it happened, but I've been meaning to. But while we're waiting for a decision from the jury, while we're waiting for an acquittal from the jury, it makes sense to go over it and just watch it again because it's mind-blowing, dude. It really is mind-blowing that this dude was considered an expert. He's the stupidest person I've ever seen. It's crazy.
Your testing occurred, correct?
Yes.
And we move over to the left. That is key cycle what?
1164.
Right.
Thank
So
you, Gigi
you
Love.
testified, and we can turn the lights on. Your Honor, I don't mind if that stays up. We can turn the lights on. I don't think it.
Has anybody else noticed? Has anybody else noticed that AJ seems to be afraid of the dark? Like he's always campaigning for the lights to stay on when they're showing shit on the screen. Like always, we don't have to turn down the lights for that. We don't have to turn the lights off for that. We can leave the lights on. We just put that. It seems to peeve him that they turn off the lights to show video or a slide. It's very funny to me.
You stated in your report that there were, quote, 2 triggers recorded on odometer 12629 and key cycle 1162, correct?
Yes.
These events were prior to the testing triggers on odometer readings 12665/12666 and at key cycle 1164. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're saying, what you're saying in that report is the triggering events were at 1162.
We don't need to turn the lights off for that.
1162 comes before
We
1164.
can keep the lights on, Your Honor.
Numerical, is that right?
Yes.
Every single key cycle just tags another number on top of it, right? There's no formula.
Correct.
After 1 comes 2, after 2 comes 3, 4, 5, 6, and then move on, right?
Yes.
So by the time you
Like,
got the
if
vehicle, there had been 1,000.
If I were so inclined, which I am not, I assure you, I would go through all of the trial footage of when Alan Jackson is about to question a witness and show something on the screen of when he fights for the light to stay on. Because I've counted at least 4 times. At least.
1,164 key cycles on the history of that car, correct?
Correct.
Like, if I were so inclined, I would just mash up a video of each time. Alan Jackson's like, we don't have to turn the lights off. We can keep the lights on. If I were so inclined, I would totally make a mashup video of every time he did that. But I'm not. I'm not at all.
And you knew, and you put in your report, or you know, that the triggering events that you see under 1164, those are yours,
Yes.
right? I mean, that's your testing.
Yes.
And you were very clear that the triggers that you recorded, that you talked to Mr. Lally about, were two key cycles before that.
Yes.
Meaning ignition cycles, at least, right?
Yes, there were 2 key cycles. Yeah.
Stated in your report.
I
finish
do wonder, dude. I mean, like, how deep does it go? Is there a fear of the dark? Is AJ afraid of the dark? I wonder. Like, does he sleep with a prosthetic child at night? Does he sleep with a fake baby to comfort him? I'm just wondering if he sleeps with he's afraid of the dark and he sleeps with a prosthetic child.
One other point. You said that the mileage.
I have no idea why you people listen to me, dude. Like, I have no fucking idea.
The difference between these 2 triggers and the triggers that occurred while testing was 36 miles. You just said that, right?
Yes.
And the key cycle difference was exactly 2 key cycles, right?
Yes.
1164, 1163, 1162. That's the triggering events, correct?
That's correct.
You also reiterated in your report in paragraph 23, 24, 26, and 29, and also in this exhibit in your CARS report, that the triggers occurred at key cycle 1162, right?
Yes.
You were assisted in your CARS report. I think you mentioned Trooper Zach Clark. Is that right?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor assisted to a certain degree, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Carol Larini, is that right?
Yes.
Also, Sergeant Sean Good of Canton PD assisted as well, correct?
Yes, in a sense.
Did they all read the report before it was finalized?
No.
Did you have any supervisor read the report before it was finalized?
Yes.
And he agreed with the assessments in the report?
Yes.
So in summary, everybody that read the report and you who authored the report believed, and it's reflected in that report, that key cycle 1162 contained the 2 triggers that you're talking about, right?
Yes.
That's the 3-point turn. I guess.
Trooper Paul is completely fucking checked out, dude. He doesn't know what the fuck AJ's talking about at all.
Now a 3-point turn, right? Changing direction, and then the reverse at 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And you even went on and testified to that exact thing under oath in front of the state grand jury, correct?
Yes. Wait, hold on. I need the text streams.
On the
Wait, what? Huh?
Not in grand jury.
Okay. Testified to it on direct examination on Friday and again this morning.
Yes, correct.
If your testing occurred at key cycle 1164, that means you turned the engine on, the ignition on to start your testing, correct?
Correct.
And that triggering event that we see up there at 1164 initiated your testing. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So that 1164 is where that's where there's no more unknowns, in other words. Right? You know exactly where the car is, who's in the car, who turned the car on, and what the triggering events were and what they reflected, because you did it, correct?
Correct.
It's you.
Yes.
So that would be the cornerstone, basically, of your entire analysis of the key cycles.
Say again.
The cornerstone, in other words, the one known that is immovable, it's immutable, is 1164 began your testing. Is that right?
Objection.
Is that right? I'm going to allow the question.
Yeah, that's when the car was in state custody.
All right.
Here, you get.
So starting at 1164.
You get a dance. For the,
Oh,
you started
here we
your
go.
testing.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
dude, seeing fucking Sean on the Gulf fucking do that shit makes me laugh every fucking time, dude. He's such a dumbass. You know, like he posted that there was a fucking verdict yesterday. Like, dude, no, man. Like, this asshole heard that fucking the Reeds were walking into the courthouse and then he was like, verdict. Dumbass. Fucking idiot.
You know that the SUV had to be started, the ignition had to be turned over, and it was driven to the Sally
What's up,
Port
Lauren?
in Canton at 5:31 p.m. from a tow truck on January 29th, correct?
I didn't know that.
You did or did not?
Did not know that.
Okay. Assuming that the car had to be started and put on a tow truck, that would be key cycle what?
I don't know how. I can't speak to the fact that recorded a key cycle at that time.
What?
I can't speak to the fact that we record a key cycle at that time.
Okay. If the car was turned on
Jesus Christ,
and driven
dude.
onto a tow truck, would that be a key cycle?
I don't know because these keys record different ways, so I can't speak to how or why it did not record on there. All I can speak to is that those are the key cycles.
AJ, bro.
The odometer mileage is more what I was going.
Jesus Christ, dude. Poor AJ. He's sitting there fucking just fighting through having to listen to this asshole's answers. Dude, like AJ's like, dude, I could be off jerking off with a fucking cheese grater right now, and I'm listening to you, bro. Like, what would I rather be doing?
Going after on this whole thing.
Trooper Paul, you just said unequivocally, when a car is turned on and then turned off, there's a key cycle.
I said when the car without the ignition on, that's a key cycle.
Right.
That's correct.
That's what I mean, when it's turned on, when the engine turns on.
That's the definition of what it is. I can't speak to why I didn't go on, why I did not record.
Well,
because it didn't fucking happen, stupid.
let's talk about the ignition cycles
Okay.
before 1164. Okay?
Okay.
Obviously, the car had to get to
What
Canton
makes
PD
me
because you
nervous?
saw it there, correct?
Correct.
What makes me nervous is that this is from the first trial, and lest we forget that there were a couple of fucking idiots on that jury that were just as stupid as him on that last trial. Don't forget that. Sorry, but it's true. If y'all were feeling confident, just remember that we come to find out later that there were idiots on that jury just as stupid as him.
Correct.
Assume for purposes of my question, the car was turned on and there's a video of it turning on, driving up onto a flatbed tow truck.
Yes.
That would be ignition cycle. I'm going to use your word, key cycle, ignition cycle, 1163, correct?
Again, ignition cycle, key cycles are two different things.
Which word do you want me to use?
If you want to talk about key cycles, key cycles. If you want to talk about ignition cycles, it's ignition cycles when its vehicle gets turned on. The key cycle does not mean to be turned on.
But every single ignition cycle includes a key cycle. You can't have an ignition cycle without a key cycle, correct?
Well, if you want to talk about it, just use the key cycles or ignition cycles. I'm trying to make sure this gets out.
Okay. What? Dude, what did you just fucking say?
have an ignition.
If you want to talk about just use the key cycles or initial cycles. I'm trying to make sure the key cycles or initial cycles. I'm trying to make sure use the key cycles or initial cycles. I'm trying to talk about just use the key cycles or initial cycles. If you want to talk about just use the key cycles or initial cycles. If you want to talk about just use the key cycles or initial cycles.
What, dude? What? I didn't make any of that out.
If you want to talk about just use the key cycles or initial cycles. I'm trying to make sure this gets out. I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Oh my god. He's like, I realized I sounded like a fucking groveling, bibbling fucking moron. Let me try that again.
I'm trying to make sure this gets out. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure that this gets put out. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure
the court reporter's like, bro. The fucking stenographer, dude. She's like, dude, I can't, bro. Like, I can't dude, you need to fucking talk, dude. Like, you understand what my job is here, right? Like, this guy is a prank from God on the stenographer, dude. That's what this guy is. Something happened. Listen to me. I am fully fucking convinced of this, dude. This fucking court reporter lady, whoever the fuck she is, did something in her life or in a past life terrible, but not enough to ruin her. Not enough to where the karma's bad. She probably killed a bug that she was minding their own business or something. You know what I mean? She was walking down the sidewalk and she said, oh, bug, I'm going to fucking kill it. Maybe she did something like that. And then God was like, all right, I'm going to make this Trooper Paul guy, and I'm going to make this guy like have a speech impediment his whole fucking life so that this lady is going to have to, like, this guy is a nightmare. This guy is a court reporter's fucking nightmare. Like, she did something where God put that guy in that courtroom with her having to fucking listen, and it was her job to make out what this guy's saying. It was her job to make this out, and it's impossible to do it. Like, look at her hand where she's just like, dude, please, bro. Watch.
Use
Hand
the key
comes out of
cycles or initial cycles. I'm trying to make sure
my
this gets
man,
out.
my man. And then he knocks her hand away.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make.
Look, one more time.
I'm trying to make sure this gets out. I'm
please,
sorry.
Bro. Like, this court reporter's like, please, bro. Like, what did I do to get this guy testifying? I bet you even AJ feels bad for that lady, dude. I'll bet you AJ even feels bad for that lady. This is unreal that this dude that this woman had to fucking document everything this guy says.
I'm trying to make sure that this gets put out the correct way.
Every ignition cycle includes a key cycle, correct?
In a sense.
By definition, it has to, right?
It doesn't have to. They record multiple different ways.
You can have an ignition cycle without a key cycle.
I don't know how they recorded, but it could happen.
Explain that. How could that possibly happen?
Because a key cycle is when it turns on, not engine running, and then turns off.
Okay, so work with me here.
Ignition cycle is when it turns on, engine running for 2 seconds, and then comes off.
Okay, so.
For the 2 seconds, if it's not on long enough, it might not record one.
Okay, let's ignore the 2 seconds.
Okay.
That's not what we're doing.
Okay.
All right.
What a hair
Let's
splitter.
assume that it's an old-fashioned type of key.
Okay.
Halfway on, the electricity is on. It's like it used to be called ACC.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That's a key cycle, correct?
For that intents and purposes, yes. This vehicle's not a key cycle. It's not a thing.
Keep turning,
Okay.
and that turns the engine
Dude.
on, right?
Look at him, bro.
Thing.
Keep turning.
Look at him. The guy is a giant fucking infant, dude. He's a giant infant. Like, this guy talks. Look, he has no fucking hair. Like, I imagine this guy running around his house in a onesie, bro. In a onesie with footies, asking for fucking cereal. That's what I imagine this dude like at home. I imagine this dude at home in a onesie with dinosaurs on it and footies asking for cereal.
For that intents and purposes, yes. This vehicle's not a key cycle. It's not a thing.
Keep turning,
Okay.
and that turns the engine on, right?
It turns engine on, correct.
An ignition cycle, right?
Yes. Well, then turns off.
Ignition cycle necessarily includes the precursor key cycle, correct? Even though every key cycle might not include an ignition cycle. Would you agree with that?
In that scenario, yes.
Fine. Okay, with that definition, I'm going to talk about ignition cycles because I don't want to get confused about accessories. Just assume the engine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you started your testing at 1164, then if the engine was turned on, thereby indicating initiating a key cycle, driving the car onto a flatbed truck, and then hauling it over to Canton PD, that would be key cycle 1163 in that hypothetical, correct?
It could be.
Okay. Then going backward from there, if the SUV was, I'm sorry, let me add one event that I just forgot. It had to get off the tow truck in Canton and be driven into the Sally Pond. Did you ever see that video?
No.
Being driven in?
No.
If there was a video showing that the car was actually driven into the Sally Pond, that would necessarily be a key cycle, correct?
Possibly.
Okay, so that would be key cycle 1163. My mistake, I was missing one, right?
Okay.
Before that, if the car was turned on and driven onto the flatbed to get to Canton, that would be key cycle 1162 in order, correct? We're going back.
It's possible.
All right. Before that, if the car was started and the car was driven from One Meadows Avenue to Karen Reed's parents' home in Dighton, that would be another key cycle, 1161, correct?
They're possible.
Before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed from the garage at John O'Keefe's house to Jennifer McCabe's house at 5:07 in the morning, that would be another key cycle, correct? 1160. Is that right?
It's possible.
And before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed to the waterfall, from the waterfall to 34 Fairview at approximately 12:15 a.m., that would be another key cycle, 1159, right?
It's possible.
I want to be clear. The reason that these numbers
Hi, Amy McCabe. Thank you.
skip in your diagram, they don't go directly in order, right? Not every single number is in order on this left-hand column because this is only a diagram of when triggering events occur, right?
Yes.
Something unusual about the operation of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And it's clear that from the data, there was no triggering event at key cycle 1159, was there?
No.
So assuming the driving events that I just told you, right? Assuming for purposes of my question, that the
What's up,
driving
Makeup
events
Monster?
started at 1159 driving over to 34 Fairview from the waterfall. Then driving at 5:07 in the morning over to Jen McCabe's house, 1160. Then driving to Dighton, her parents' house, 1161. Then the car being seized in Dighton by Trooper Proctor, 1162. Then the car being taken off the flatbed and driven into the Sallyport at Canton, 1163. Your testing
I love that
starts
shit.
at 1164.
Karen can't wait to hear this asshole mumble an explanation about this shit. She
That
can't
would
wait.
mean that at 1162, that key cycle would include the time in which Trooper Proctor had possession of that car, correct?
No.
Assuming my hypothetical.
Your hypothetical?
Yes.
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Then what?
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Hypothetically.
On June 9th, 2022, you were asked by a grand jury whether you knew or had done any scientific testing to determine the distance a body would actually travel struck by a vehicle. Remember that?
Not that specifically. Not in that way.
Do you remember answering that you had not, I'm just paraphrasing, that you had not done you hadn't finished your report yet?
Why don't you show him? He said he didn't remember it that way.
Yeah, show him the book with pictures in it.
Middle
He
of the
needs the
page.
book with pictures.
Your answer starts at about line 12, but the question above it is probably informative. You were asked, does that remind you that you were asked by a grand juror if you could calculate how far a body would move having been struck by a vehicle?
Yes.
And you indicated, quote, yeah, there's certain calculations we can do with that. Would figure out if the car backed up, hit somebody, and then they go a certain amount of distance, and it's based on miles per hour, the speed of the vehicle, the striking vehicle, and stuff. Remember saying that?
Yes.
What did you mean by stuff?
I don't know.
You said that the calculations would be based on miles per hour,
dude,
and stuff.
I don't know either. The Glare Institute of Law and stuff. I don't know what the stuff means.
Did you ever do any stuff to test that?
Steve.
Grand question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Say that one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's we?
I mean, sorry, me, the royal me.
Well, you know, John's
The royal we, man. The editorial we.
Right?
What's that?
You know John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
Yes.
Did you know that?
This guy,
I don't know his weight, no.
This guy all of a sudden is speaking eloquently by utilizing the royal we when he speaks instead of, instead of saying I.
You know the
fucking brilliant.
Vehicle?
Yes.
What's the weight of the vehicle? Gross weight.
What's the gross weight?
Yeah.
I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Okay. Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
Well, you told the grand jury that you were planning on doing that kind of stuff to calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed with a car that way. You didn't do those calculations?
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
What?
You testified, again, my report isn't done.
Underestimate the speed of the
Calculations?
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
Oh my God.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into all that stuff. End quote, correct?
Yes.
There's that word again. It's been more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you calculate how far?
The formulas for this type of collision. Collision would not.
My favorite shit in the world, bro. Listen to this guy, bro.
I looked into it. This type of collision would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas.
What,
How
dude?
would you calculate how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use a Searle throw formula.
What formula?
Searle.
What does that mean?
It's a type of formula that would use for a calculation that's post-impact.
So
Or speeds for pedestrians.
that includes certain
What,
principles of
dude,
physics to
are
calculate
you
that, right?
saying?
So
Or speeds for pedestrians
that includes certain principles.
that would use for a calculation that's post-impact.
So
Or speeds for pedestrians.
that
What?
includes certain principles of physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by certain forms of physics?
There would
Bro.
be
Bro.
physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move, having been struck by an object in motion.
Right.
That's a basic principle.
I need the camera on AJ more, bro, because like when they do show AJ, bro, sometimes his reactions, his facial expressions towards this guy's like in response to this guy's answers, they're just priceless. Like he just can't fucking believe that this dude is sitting on the stand as an expert witness.
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
All right. Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel, having been struck by an object in motion?
So in this scenario, in this collision, it's more of a side swipe. So he did not ascertain, he did not get enough speed of the vehicle post impact with the vehicle.
He just got so frustrated with himself. He's trying to say ascertain and realized he couldn't say it. So he's like tried to find another word that meant the same thing. You watch it, he gets mad at himself. Watch.
He did not get enough speed of the vehicle, not ascertain. He did not get enough speed of the vehicle, ascertain. He did not get enough speed of the vehicle post impact collision. It's more of a side swipe. So he did not ascertain. He did not get enough speed of the vehicle.
You can do it.
Impact with the
You
vehicle
can do it.
to BL calculations. His center of mass was offset from the vehicle. So we would vastly underestimate his speed. So
Oh my god.
that's why I did
bro.
not do a formula. If he was more in line with behind the vehicle, he would have been projected forward, and using that projection forward, he would have done to get more closer to the actual speed of the vehicle during that post-impact travels.
Well, that presumes a couple of things, Super Paul. That presumes that he was quote unquote sideswiped, right?
Presumed,
Presumed by you. You didn't see how he was in, did you?
based on the evidence, it appeared to be a side swipe.
That's your opinion.
That's just reading the evidence.
You're saying that the principles of physics as we know them today in modern mathematics is thwarted by a sideswipe?
You just lost him.
Objection.
You just lost him.
Is that
AJ.
what you're saying?
It's the calculations that are out there. You can get a speed, it will just underestimate the speed.
You would have to know what the
The calculations are out there. The calculations are out there.
initial momentum of the object is that's in motion, correct?
Of what object?
The truck, Super Paul.
I would have to know that speed.
Yeah, you'd have to know what the initial momentum is.
Oh,
Speed, momentum,
they're not makeup mobs.
Okay.
This is from the last trial. I've been meaning to go over this testimony again just for fun, and we're waiting for a decision from the jury while they deliberate. So I figured it'd be fun to go over, but they actually completely and totally dismissed this guy in this trial. Like they didn't call him up to the stand. They like fought to even have his testimony from here even referenced, any of his findings even referenced, because he sounded so stupid. Like Brennan knew better. He did find the key cycle data, but yeah, they were arguing over whether or not they were going to use it, whether like the jury should even hear about it.
Right? Would you agree with that?
No.
You wouldn't have to calculate what the initial momentum is of the object in motion to determine the distance of the body at rest would move?
Well, in that sense, are we talking about trying to find the speed of the vehicle? That's usually what we're trying to do.
Right, okay. Well, let's put the speed of the vehicle aside. Let's talk about initial momentum. What's the formula for calculating initial momentum?
There's different types of momentum formulas.
Well, there's actually one type of momentum formula. It's to calculate momentum.
Objection.
Sustained.
To calculate momentum, there's a
So sustained. Ask it differently.
Objection, Your Honor. He's making my witness look stupid.
Isn't it true, Trooper Paul, that there is a singular calculation for determining initial momentum? That is P equals M times V, where P is the momentum. You're solving for that. M is mass. You multiply that by velocity. Is that right? Pretty simple.
You wouldn't use that in a pedestrian collision.
Oh, because the pedestrian is somehow magically out of the realm of physics?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is the pedestrian out of the realm of physics and calculations?
No, it's the weight differential between the pedestrian and the vehicle.
Okay.
So if the vehicle is too heavy and the body is too light, you can't calculate the initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes.
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
It's in my math class. We don't use momentum for vehicle to vehicle.
It's in my math class. My man just said it's in my math class.
Initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes.
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
It's in my math class. We don't use.
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
It's in my math class.
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
It's in my math class. We don't use momentum for a vehicle to vehicle. The math, the crash reconstruction
AJ was like, math class?
classes I have taken.
Did you just say fucking math class?
Got it.
Got it.
Would you need to apply
we need to keep
the
this.
theory?
AJ's like, I got it, dude. We need to keep this moving because I can't do this for much longer because my brain is going to fucking explode because you are the most frustrating fucking thing to ever listen to. Unreal.
Theory of conservation of momentum in calculating these data.
Do I need to calculate the conservation of momentum?
Of conservation of momentum.
Yes.
You know what that is? There's an equation for that as well, right?
Yes.
You know what that is?
Not off the top of my head, but yes.
There's nothing
Based
on the top
basic
of your head.
principles of physics,
Not even hair.
is the total momentum of the collision greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Total momentum before the collision, is it greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Basic question.
What type of collision?
AJ's like, come on, man. This is
They're
easy.
exactly
This is
equal
easy, please.
in all respects under the principles of physics, right? That's the theory of the conservation of momentum. Momentum doesn't change. It's just
Yes.
transferred from one body to another,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you say that to the jurors?
Objection.
Sustained.
Nice.
Trooper Paul, if you were qualified to quote, look into all this stuff, you would probably know these answers.
Objection.
Sustained.
If you were
Are
qualified,
there any other
bro.
calculations that you need to figure out the stuff that you were talking to about with the grand jury?
Objection.
Sustained.
How about calculating the final velocity of the objects after the collision? Would that be important?
You
What
lost me, bro.
objects?
That would be John O'Keefe's body, sir. Object
I don't.
he claims flying through the air 30 feet.
Come on, dude.
Sustained.
How about calculating the displacement using kinematic equations? Would you be able to do that?
The displacement of the body.
In order to calculate how far the body would move based on the mass of the object striking the body, could you use displacement using kinematic equations?
So, like I said before, the side swipe, he would not have gotten 100% of the vehicle, 100% of the speed of the striking vehicle. It would have vastly underestimated this vehicle. You couldn't hit a person and side swipe them, spin them off to the side.
Homie.
And have that and get a speed from those calculations.
Come on.
So you're saying that the discipline of physics cannot figure out how far John O'Keefe's body would move.
You mean the discipline?
But you personally figured out that he would have flown now somewhat, or been projected somewhat 30 feet.
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you saying that the principles of physics are incapable of determining with the proper calculations how far John O'Keefe's body would have moved given the collision at issue?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying, Trooper?
No.
Okay, next question.
You're roboting, Bev.
You just said because it was a side swipe, all these calculations, these physics calculations are inapplicable, right?
I'm saying it would underestimate the speed, the distance.
The truth is, Trooper Paul, you have no idea what all these physics calculations mean, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've not been trained in physics formally, have you?
Yes.
You have been.
You have?
It's incorporated into the classes.
Right. You had a few classes that use the word physics, but you haven't been formally trained in physics, have you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You haven't been formally trained in kinematics, correct?
It's in the aspects of all our crash reconstruction classes.
You haven't been formally trained and hold no degrees in biomechanics, do you?
I do not have a degree in biomechanics.
In fact, basically what you did in this case.
In
was
fact,
calculated
you're a
initial
useless
effects,
fuck.
And you got those wrong.
How about that?
Objection.
Sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson. Ask the appropriate part of the question. You'll get it.
You're a walking meat bag of stupidity, correct?
Let me ask you this. Based on your reconstruction, nearly 2-year investigation, exactly how was that taillight shattered? Explain it to us.
How does the taillight? What do you? It gets so the taillight in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm.
Exactly what part of his arm?
Based on what I saw for his injuries, was from the upper part of his arm down.
Was his arm out? And it just struck the arm like a hinge? Was it in front of him? You did the reconstruction? Here's exactly how his body was positioned when he was struck by that.
So it looks like his arm was more kind of like this. If I can try to get that.
You're indicating out by his side, correct?
Yes.
All right. And the taillight would have struck his arm, right?
Yes.
Not his torso.
Yes.
Okay. So the full mass, the full weight of that truck hit him basically at the elbow. Is that right? Missing his
No.
torso.
Oh, I said it. Yeah, from upper part of the arm
Right.
down. Yeah.
The elbow and the biceps.
I didn't see anything that shows an indication that this lower torso was struck, but
So his torso,
it's not saying it could not have been a possibility, but I just didn't see anything.
so his torso was spared from being hit, but the arm took the brunt, the full force of the vehicle, correct?
Like arm and shoulder, yes.
Okay. And you said he then did a spin, like a sort of a pirouette.
He got spun around possibly the way it struck, it looked like it could have turned around counterclockwise.
Okay. So if he turns around counterclockwise, is he turning around in the air counterclockwise?
Yes, initially.
So he gets hit on the upper biceps, shoulder area, and down to the forearm, right?
Yes.
By an unbroken taillight, right?
Yes.
In other words, it's nice and smooth. Nothing, no shards of plastic or anything broken at the time that it made contact with his arm, right?
Correct.
Okay. So how did his arm get all cut up?
Because when his arm struck the taillight then cracked. And as the car driving past him, the taillight could scratch it.
Got it. So he gets hit by the car, not his torso, just the arm. The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that we see, those lacerations. I'm sorry, those abrasions that we see, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette and flies.
Bro, we'll get to the aerial part of the explanation in a second. But so tail light, dude's got his arm out like this. Why John O'Keefe has his arm out like this? Who knows? Tail light hits his upper part of his arm, right? Breaks the tail light, not his elbow, mind you, but the upper part of his arm, breaks the tail light and causes, as it's passing, a bunch of different strikes and, I mean, all separate abrasions. And they all happened at the same time, all down his arm from one motion, going like this, over and over again from one single motion. The only way that that's possible is if the tail light was horizontally as big as John O'Keefe's arm, and the tail light had a different sharp point for each scratch going across. That's still not possible. But this is Trooper Paul's analysis. This is Trooper Paul's theory. This is the Commonwealth's theory a year ago. Then they bring in the pink guy, Welcher. Fucking idiot. So, but hold on, it gets better.
30 feet to his final point of rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well, I'm using the word pirouette. He spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotating. According to that, would push him to rotate counterclockwise. Whether or not he went counterclockwise all the way to his back toward the ground, it seems like a most likely possibility.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is on a hinge?
Is what? Say again?
Did you account for the fact in this scenario that you just told the jurors that his arm is on a hinge?
On a
His
hinge.
shoulder?
Okay.
Right? So the arm got hit. Didn't his arm just swing?
Right.
I said arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got the upper,
Okay.
pointing to his upper biceps.
Mhm.
Right? There's no injuries on his shoulder, not a single one, not even a bruise. Right?
Interesting.
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can up back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm, correct?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
No injuries on the shoulder, no injuries on the torso, no injuries on the ribs, no injuries on the back, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is you got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm, stayed with the vehicle long enough for the taillight to explode, basically to shatter. Then these striations get on his arm, abrasions. Does a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise. He flies 30 feet in the air to his point of rest.
Yeah. It happened probably a little faster than that, though.
Actually said he hit his head on the curb.
I said that's one of the possibilities of when you look at the roadway as he gets spun around kind of clockwise. It's a possibility that the curb is there. Any blunt force object on the ground, as the ground is pretty blunt.
Well, except in your scenario that you just told us, he flew through the air onto the light dusting of snow, grass, and dirt.
I didn't say through the air.
Say that again?
I didn't say he got thrown through the air.
Okay, I'll use your word. He got projected. Like
Projected doesn't mean it's not incorporating just throw. Project just means you get pushed forward. There's two parts of that. There's the air, then there's the ground. Like I said earlier, the tumbling, the rolling, whatever that
The tumbling and the rolling, huh?
part of the crash would happen. Projecting is just what we call what happens to a pedestrian post-impact with a crash.
Okay, so a couple questions.
With a crash.
Okay,
Now look at him right here. I love this. This is my favorite because right here is where he realizes I am totally full of shit and I need to get out of this situation.
so a couple questions. If his arm, elbow, brunt, that entire impact, how do you account for the fact that
And whenever one of the Commonwealth's experts gets exposed for being retarded and they know it, they always take a drink of water. Every single time.
brunt, that entire impact, how do you account for the fact that he didn't suffer a broken bone?
I don't know.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't have a fracture?
Objection.
Sustained.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't even have a bruise on the arm?
Objection.
That's sustained too.
Fair approach.
Yes.
I mean, this guy, if I'm AJ and I want to approach, it's because this guy's supposed to be the expert fucking witness, dude.
Investigated.
This guy is supposed to be the Commonwealth's expert. I'm asking him questions that would be indicative of the Commonwealth's expert knowing he's here to prove that Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe with her vehicle. Why can't I ask him questions in regards to this? What's the problem? Why can't I just be like, how do you account for the fact that there's no bruising? How do you account? He's supposed to be the expert, right? It's not the defense's fault that the Commonwealth didn't have a biomechanical expert testify in regards to these things.
You know, having investigated auto pedestrian accidents in the past, that John O'Keefe's injuries do not look anything like an automobile pedestrian accident, do they?
Yes, they do.
Isn't it true?
Yes, they do. Yes, they
You came
do.
to these opinions and conclusions because Trooper Proctor told you to come to these opinions and conclusions. in
Objection.
furtherance of his investigation.
That is not true.
That's why you have these opinions and conclusions that just don't make sense, correct?
That is not true.
And you're just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Action.
Sustained. All right, jurors will take the morning recess.
All right.
I mean, get real.
And I'll see counsel at sidebar about scheduling.
I can't deal with Lally, so.
Very briefly, I just want to make sure I clear something up about the key cycles. You're not suggesting that every key cycle in the history of cars on this page, correct?
That's correct.
I'm pulling up Exhibit 591.
Okay.
That indicates key cycles that have triggering events, correct?
Yes.
Triggering events are something that the manufacturer includes in basically a list of items that will be a triggering event, correct?
Yes.
It's a list of items basically for mechanics to figure out if there's some unusual driving or unusual event with the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
But the key cycles go in order. They're numerical, 1 through whatever.
Correct.
And the hypothetical that I gave you on cross-examination, with those driving incidents, each one of those would represent a key cycle, correct?
I don't. So, in your hypothetical, I mean, assume that it should create a key cycle, but that you can't just say that key cycle is from that because I didn't just use key cycles. I used the odometer mileage on top of it. So you have to have key cycle and odometer.
Right. Interestingly, though, when you testified on direct examination, you said your analysis, and this was on Friday, before the weekend. By the way, over the weekend, did you watch anything on, I don't know, YouTube or any social media?
No,
Nothing.
no,
No. Did you have any conversations with Mr. Lally about these key cycles and problems?
no,
Did you have any conversations with anybody about the issues with the key cycles?
no.
Did you realize at some point between Friday and today that I was probably going to ask you some questions about key cycles?
Objection.
Did you realize that yourself?
I assumed you would ask me loads of information.
So on Friday, you didn't mention
Loads of
that your analysis was based on mileage, did you?
Objection.
Sustained.
On Friday, did you mention that your analysis was predicated on mileage?
Objection.
I'll see you at sidebar.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Paul, on Friday, you indicated pretty clearly that your analysis was based on the key cycles, starting at 1164 when you started your testing, and 1162, which was the key cycle you claimed on Friday was at 34 Fairview.
It wasn't based on it. That's how I describe it. I said key cycles. I based it on they were close within proximity to each other, but I've always said it's key cycles and odometer mileage, plus all the information within the triggers themselves. So it wasn't just one of the other.
And you said on Friday that once you started your testing at 1164, it was 2 cycles earlier that had the triggering events, meaning 1162, that you claimed were at 34 Fairview.
Yes.
But in the hypothetical, if there were 4 events, 4 driving, 4 key cycle events between 1164 and 1159, it could not have occurred at 1162, correct? 34 Fairview, in my hypothetical.
In your hypothetical, if it recorded a key cycle, then your hypothetical is correct.
Right. And last question, if you got the route of travel incorrect, if your presumption.
Why are we even discussing hypotheticals if you're proving a murder?
The route of travel was incorrect on that vehicle in the days earlier, then your mileage would be incorrect also, correct?
Mileage from what? The odometer or from?
The odometer reading.
The odometer reading is odometer reading. It's 36.
My point is your analysis that's based on the odometer reading, 36 miles here, 12 miles there, 2 miles here, 5 miles there. If you got the route of travel wrong and the route of travel was different, your assumptions about the odometer readings would be incorrect as well, correct?
So what I'm.
You got the path of travel wrong.
So I purposely put down a range on my Google images showing, because I couldn't tell you her definitively route of path for every single way, but I know that it's possibly a possibility that she could travel 36 miles within those locations that she traveled post leaving Fairview Road.
Or if that mileage was put on at key cycle 1162, then that would mean the vehicle would already be in Massachusetts State Police custody, right? Into the proctor's custody.
Objection.
So that's beyond the scope.
That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Just very briefly, the range that you came up with for the defendant's path of
very
travel,
briefly.
does that fit with the
Very
path of
briefly. Shut up. Very briefly. Very briefly. Shut up. Shut it. Shut it. Hold on. Oh, look, it's the fan. So yeah, Turtle Boy is in the jury is in the courtroom looking at the jury And he stated juror 4 just picked up a piece of paper and used it to shield his mouth as he whispered something to juror number 3 as he was looking at the media. Many jurors are looking at the media, which they don't usually do. It's as if they know they are about to do something. He goes on to say, if Karen Reed is acquitted, there will be a lot of losers in this whole thing, but none bigger than Hank Brennan. Adam Lally convinced 9 jurors to convict Karen Reed of manslaughter. If Hank gets 0, he will be the ultimate loser. In the hallway, I saw Alan Jackson and I said, those are good questions. He responded, yeah, you think? And there it is. The Commonwealth invested millions of dollars prosecuting an OUI case. Oh, man. I don't know, guys. I mean, I think we're just so close to a verdict. Are they still at lunch? So Karen and the defense are in the courtroom. Okay. Oh, Karen and the defense are in the courtroom. I guess that means we got a verdict, right, Sean, on the golf? No, bro. There is no verdict yet. There might be. Who knows? I really hope there is, because I have shit to do today, and I would love to be able to get to do it. And I don't want to end this stream and then something happens. You know what I mean? So... So Nick Rocco says there's another question.
Please be seated. Court is in session.
All right, so I'll see you at sidebar so we don't do this part in open court.
Fucking sidebar.
Jim, can I have that question, please? Thank you. All right, so as council knows, we received a question from the jurors.
Another question.
If we find not guilty on 2 charges but can't agree on 1 charge, is it a hung jury on all 3 charges or just 1 charge?
Oh,
Some input
fuck
from the
yeah,
defense at
dude.
Sidebar, essentially saying if we could just ignore it. We
I-
can't ignore it.
Fuck yeah, dude.
To me, it's a theoretical question.
No,
And we
it's
don't
what
answer
happened last year,
theoretical
and the jury
questions.
knows
I
it.
tell the jurors that they're not to be concerned with the consequences of their verdict, and that's exactly what they're doing here. So I would propose just writing simply, this is not a question I can answer on this and sending it back.
Bullshit. Why not?
But his position is not, certainly not for it. I agree. We can't ignore your question. However, I think that it is apropos, given the timing of when that question came in, literally before the court had answered the other 3 note card questions. I think that it would be appropriate to send a quick note just asking them, given the fact that there's some clarity in your other questions, does this answer your question? In other words, can you proceed without any further input by the court regarding that second question?
So that made sense initially, but why ask them, do I really need to answer it, to then tell them I'm not answering it?
Because I think at some point, they need to know what the law is.
Yeah, exactly. Explain it to them.
I don't see it as theoretical, as the court indicated. I see it a little bit differently, which is what are our options? And the options are built in the law, not in theory. If they come back with a verdict on more than one count, but they're hung on a separate count, they are to report those 2 counts, whatever counts they came to a verdict on.
So that's for a later time, right? So this is at this point.
Oh, bullshit.
It's premature. It's hypothetical. It's theoretical. I understand your point. I think I disagree with you at this point. It may be something later.
They're
the way the
asking
question's
that.
worded. If I find this, if we do this, I'll hear from the Commonwealth.
We agree it's consequence related. Your first suggestion, I think, is most appropriate, and we would endorse that.
Yeah.
Of course
I'm going
you
to do
would.
that at this time, Mr. Jackson. I'm not going to have a back and forth with them. I'm simply going to say, because it's true, it's the law, that this is not a question I can answer.
How
But
is
I
it
would
not?
strongly suggest that we find some other way. If that question continues to remain, then they're not going to ask that question.
Right.
I don't think the court can say, or should say, I can't answer the question, because the court can answer that question.
The court absolutely can't answer that question.
This question is not before the court without further.
Oh, this is
something
some
like
dirty,
that.
dirty
The court
shit.
Can't answer that question, because if that question remains in their minds, we're going to end up in the exact same position that we were in last year.
There are other steps that can be taken to perhaps prevent that.
Get her,
Whatever
AJ.
those steps are, I think the first step down the wrong path is to say, throw our hands up and say, well, we can't answer that question. Well,
Right.
We can answer.
Right.
So I don't know if I want to put you in an uncomfortable position, Ms. Giannetti. I'm inclined to answer the question the way I stated.
Could we have 2 minutes to confer with counsel, John?
1 minute.
How about 1 minute? You guys are 10 minutes late.
We just need 1 minute. Thank you.
Wow, dude, what the fuck? Okay, Betero says that he expects a verdict within 90 minutes. He says that it's a hunch, but he expects a verdict within 90 minutes. Oh, man, this is... I mean, why can't she answer that question? She knows this is exactly where we were last year. The fact that the jury was... this jury had the foresight to ask this question so that the same thing doesn't happen as last year is showing you that they are worried about the wrong thing happening here. And Bev, her job is to instruct this jury. Why is she not doing this? Why is she finding a way to not do this? Why is she saying, I can't answer a question when I absolutely can answer this question? Why is that happening?
A very slight tweak with the court's language. I don't have a principled objection to the court's language that we not answer the question at this time. I would simply ask that the court answer the question as you suggested just now in open court. It's premature to address this question at this time.
No. What do you say, Mr. Brennan? My response was, this is not a question I can answer for the reasons I stated. It's theoretical, and we tell jurors that they cannot be concerned with the consequences of their verdict. And that's exactly what you would be asking me to endorse. What's the Commonwealth's position on the proposed?
How about...
I agree with your first suggestion.
Yeah. I'm going to send it in like
What
this,
if-
your objections noted.
What if the consequence is convicting an innocent woman?
The court's indicating.
How can they not be concerned with those consequences?
Of the juror's verdict. That would be punishment. Of course, you can't answer a question like that. This is not the consequences of the verdict. It's how do they report a verdict. So I think saying I can't answer this is sending a false message to the jury.
It
The court would
absolutely
simply
is.
Indicate this is not appropriate for me to address at this time. That assuages all concerns. Certainly assuages our concerns and it protects Ms. Reed's rights. I think that.
Well, I think what I could add is this is a theoretical question, not a question I can answer. That does the same thing. Is there an objection? I understand, Mr. Jackson.
Add the clause at this time.
Is there an objection to me putting this is a theoretical question, not a question I can answer?
Oh my God. She's just blowing him off. She's just pretending like she doesn't hear what he's saying. This is fucking dirty, dude. This stinks.
Allow the court to finish writing, but at this point, that is over our objection.
I understand.
I just want to make sure the record is absolutely clear. That's over our objection. I don't think that's an appropriate answer to a very, very clear question.
Right.
It could be answered in an innocuous way that does not affect Ms. Reed's rights.
Okay.
This way it does.
Okay, it was a clear question that the defense first told me to ignore. So
I didn't
is
tell
that.
you to ignore anything, Your Honor.
I
All
didn't
right,
tell you
we
to
are
ignore
all set,
anything.
so let's send this in, please.
All right.
The fix is fucking in, people. This is just plain dirty. There is absolutely no reason why Bev can't answer that question. This is a jury trying to be ethical, trying to do the right thing. Acting under the presumption of innocence is what they are doing, which is exactly what Bev instructed them to do. And now what Bev is doing is saying that she can't answer a question that would ensure that they don't wrongfully convict someone or it goes to a mistrial where this would go to another third trial. Because that's exactly what the Commonwealth wants if they're trying to drain Karen Reed. Because Karen Reed is driving on bald tires right now. She's got fumes in the tank. As far as money goes, she's got fumes in the tank. So if the Commonwealth is trying to drain her, this would be the way to do it. Because if this goes to a third trial, do you really think? Now, in theory, yes, I do believe that this would pick up traction and more people will be following this. Karen Reed will get more support. But I think that the Commonwealth, and including Bev, they think that if this goes a third time, it's just going to die out. The support for Karen Reed is going to run dry. The support for Karen Reed is going to get quiet. That it's going to be, that's so last year. And then they're going to be paying attention to Brian Koberger. That's what I think that they're counting on. If they're trying to drain Karen Reed. But no, that won't happen. That won't happen. There's no reason. Bev just showed the world that she is not willing to provide Karen Reed with a fair trial. That is unmistakable. I don't give a fuck how you paint it. I don't give a fuck how you try to make it seem. The fact is that Bev just showed the world that she is unwilling to give Karen Reed a fair trial. There is no reason why Judge Beverly Cannoni will not provide this jury with the proper instructions. I got to see what Bettero's saying. And he's going to be on Nurse Kim's at 5:30. Yeah, I am absolutely shocked at what I'm looking at. It's just right in your face. I can't believe what I'm looking at. Like, I can't believe what I'm watching right now. All right. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any new tweets from the mighty Mark Betterow. Yeah. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, somebody on that jury knows what happened last year. That's just a hunch. Oh, Mark is on Melanie Little. Makes perfect sense. Of course he is. It's yeah. If I had to guess, somebody on that jury knows what happened last year. Well, it's not going to hurt her none. I want to hear what Mark's saying, so I'm going to go check that out. And of course, in the interest of good form, my friends, please make sure to give the video a like.
justice and the law. You all just want a conviction because you can't even answer our damn question.
The concern I would have now is that she's made this worse in confusing the jury, and that I would be concerned about the likelihood of them now coming back with another question, because they get the slip initially. It's a mess. They ask a question. She brings them out and is going to answer the question, but there's already another note that they don't have that they've already asked. That's not being answered. The information is going back and forth at the wrong time. Like, it's not, question, answer. And at this point, you have to wonder if some of the jurors anyway, have any clue about what am I doing here? And, and if they can't agree on the OUI, and part of that is the concern over what's going to happen if we do that. What if she does get 10 years? What if she does, or what if we say we can't agree? What, is it going to be like the last trial? And they're talking about that.
Right.
They know about it.
They know about it.
It's impossible that they don't know, like, holy shit, this is happening again.
Right.
And the reality is, if that influences them, or
make
certain jurors to make a decision one way or the other on the OUI, that's not justice at all. If that,
I really don't like sniping creators that I'm friends with and cool with. But these are special circumstances at the moment, and I know she doesn't mind. But please, out of just for the sake of good form, please click on the link, click on her link, and like her stream. I appreciate it.
She likes this.
I don't think she likes it.
People are saying that Alan said that they got that question around the same time as the other questions. So did she really hold this question until after lunch? Is that why she said come back at 1:30?
No question. That's why she said come back. She's telling them I have another note. And my concern is that if she had that note before,
right,
why not get 2 for 1, explain to the jury, and not have them come back? Because if your concern is about wasting their time, you're just wasting their time now, bringing them back and forth.
Dude, you guys have no idea how fucking validating that shit is. Because, like, I sometimes I'm just like, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because I can't believe how crazy this is. And that's why I was dying to hear what Mark was saying about this, because I was like, am I crazy? What the fuck is happening? And he's validating everything I'm thinking. So is Melanie. So is Auntie Deb. I mean, they're all validating what I'm thinking, which is this is a fucking sham. Bev is blatantly robbing Karen Reed of her Sixth Amendment rights. This is dirty. This is dirty. This is as dirty as it gets. I refuse to entertain any other possibility. I've seen too much. I've seen too much. I've been here too long.
Middle of deliberations. That's crazy. Why is the jury having to go back and forth and not understand this? This should have all been worked out in advance. And, you had the benefit of this happening last year. And it's as if nothing was learned, nothing was gained. There was no use of history and experience to make it not happen again. And yesterday, when the defense tried to address this and give their exhibit of a modified slip, it was summarily denied without even discussing it. And look at us now.
You think she hates them, or like doesn't like Jackson, or like has personal beef?
Yeah, no. I mean, let's call it what it is. I don't think she likes Alan Jackson. I don't think she likes Karen Reed.
I don't either.
She tolerates David. I think she likes Liza a little more than the rest of them, but not a fan.
Right.
And I've never seen her say anything at all to Brennan about his conduct, which there are 27 different.
All right. So listen, guys, Melanie Little says that she's going to send me a link to jump on her channel to talk with Mark and Auntie Deb. I am dying to talk to Mark and Melanie about this. So I'm going to jump on over there. So I'm going to end this stream, guys. And I'm going to jump on over there. and I will see you guys in Melanie Little's chat in just a minute. I love you guys, and we will do this again very soon, my friends. Glare a raid in Melanie's chat.